Founder of NoJumper podcast, husband, father, a rapper, entrepreneur, and a porn star.
I got that Magic City grease still on me, you know? One of my favorite negative comments that people leave is just, who the is this guy?
A trigger word that constantly comes up, Adam22 is a culture vulture.
All of my success is based on just being a real, true member of the culture.
But do you understand why people would feel that way, though?
My skin color, of course, tells a different story. You know, I interviewed a high-priced escort the other day. She charged $4,000 an hour. I'm not willing to pay that much.
The best things in life are
revenge and right? That's what Pac told me.
Bro, you are the modern day Howard Stern.
But Howard Stern switched it up at some point. I'm never switching it up. We're gonna stay raunchy forever.
I've heard a lot, I've seen a lot. Adam22 is a racist. Do you have black friends that aren't on your payroll?
I know way too much about all the underground Atlanta drill rappers, for example. But meanwhile, I had to Google who Ryan Reynolds was the other day.
I have a list of names. DJ Academics.
The GOAT, but
Drake.
Goddamn, that SuperBowl performance is gonna be a thing.
Kendrick.
Kendrick opened his mouth. Let's give him a Grammy.
I'm just speaking truth. New Orleans? Why not Lil Wayne?
Jay-Z knows a level of pettiness that I think few are capable of. Do we think that the Super Bowl should be used as a place for people to air out what, to my eyes, are false allegations? If this was anything besides a rap battle, Kendrick Lamar would be sued for defamation.
Charleston White.
Also a huge
I asked him his thoughts about you. Adam22.
Master. Yeah, he a slave master.
Somehow from him, that doesn't really feel that mean. He could do worse.
Jason Love.
I feel like there's a porn code. There's just certain things that you don't do. If I shoot a scene with a girl and that stank to high heavens, I'm never gonna say a word.
You breached the marriage code.
Yeah, I said
Bear with me.
for sure.
Cause I'm like, bro, this is some insightful shit.
But the feeling of being in an with a bunch of different people and that there's no risk at all, that's a great feeling.
What?
Like, this is paying the bills. The mortgage is being paid by me getting my
Okay. Slow down.
Cam.
Slow down.
That feels good.
This ain't plug talk. That's your wife, bro.
And when we're on camera, the rules are way different. Cam Newton and your audience, you need to know this. Not gay.
But you had...
I don't know. I mean, I'm a freaky guy.
That also comes off as a little skeptical. And this interview has been nothing less of a content explosion.
I think you got a little bit freakier through this interview. I think you might be getting a little bit more open-minded.
Not as open-minded to share my lady. Hey, hold on, stop. We're gonna get back to the content at hand, but while I have your attention, I need you to go to iconicsaga.com and become an icon today. That's ad-free content, exclusive giveaways. Become an icon today. Just $1 a month. Back to the show. Hey, you! Come here real quick. Come in closer. Closer. Hey. Hit that subscribe button. Back to the show. Yo, what's good? What's poppin'? What it is, what it ain't, what it could be, what it should be, what it would be. Cam Newton, the son, Mr. Boogie, y'all, with a hero. And I'm here. It's been a while. Shit. I'm here with another episode of Funky Friday. Knock these motherfucking cobwebs off, you feel what I'm saying? And I promise, I really do promise to give good content for the masses, but most of all, I promise to keep it funky for your asses. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this next person, my next guest, how can I say this? Well, go with the list. Founder of NoJumper podcast, husband, father, a conversationalist, a rapper, entrepreneur, and a porn star. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I present to some and introduce to others, Mr. Adam22.
Well, when you put it like that, sounds pretty good, Cam. How you doing, man?
How we thugging, bro?
Feeling great, man. I'm fresh off the energy of spending like 4 days in the A, so I'm powered up right now.
Are you drained or are you like energized?
I should be drained, but I got that Magic City grease still on me, you know? I got that hanging out with Young Dro all day.
Yeah.
At the
Shoulder lean.
the Trap Music Museum. Young Dro brought me out on stage at this fucking arena at the Drewski show.
Yeah.
We were with Woody all day yesterday, running around Mechanicsville. And now I'm with Cam Newton in the A. I mean, it's just like best 4 days of my life.
I would say the best 4 days.
Pretty close though, yeah.
Yeah, close. Let's say the best 4 days of this month.
Yeah, okay, there you
That's
go.
more accurate. Yeah. So a lot of people see the empire that you've created now. Let's reel this shit right on back though. Where the fuck did Adam come from?
Nashua, New Hampshire.
Nashua.
Yes.
Okay.
New Hampshire, right outside of Boston, Massachusetts. Like 40-minute drive to Boston. So basically just like a small suburb, little city. My parents, pretty average. My mom was a librarian, my dad was a social worker. And I had a pretty average upbringing for the most part, but at some point in my life, I got obsessed with BMX bikes around the age of like 12. And that basically was like the next 20 years of my life was just getting as deep into that as I could. About 10 years in, I started the BMX website, and within about a year, it was like the biggest BMX website of all time.
Wow.
And that kind of just started me off early in terms of the whole like influencer thing or whatever. 2006, I started a website, and that was my entry point.
So how did we get to LA from New Hampshire?
So I moved to Brooklyn from 2004 to 2010. And had a great time out there, but ultimately just felt like it wasn't really where I was meant to be. So then 2010, me and a couple of friends moved to Long Beach, and then, you know, just like was doing the BMX thing so hard. At some point around 2012, I realized that I thought YouTube was gonna be the next big thing. So I dove into that, doing videos every day, going out riding with the guys. And then at some point I wanted to do more long form conversations. So about 2014, I started doing podcasts in the back of my bike shop in downtown LA. And those conversations with BMX pros and BMX company owners pretty quickly led to me interviewing a lot of the underground rappers that I was around at the time, just from going to parties and warehouse shows and shit like that. And that, once it started to get going, I sort of realized like, yo, I have a lane right here where I'm watching Joe Budden, Joe Rogan, et cetera. But meanwhile, I'm going to all these warehouse parties where you might have 1,000 people or 1,500 people freaking out about this young rapper that nobody knows about outside of the underground. And so I was like, whatever, I'm gonna be the first guy doing all these interviews. And that basically has just been the story of the last 10 years.
So where did that desire come from to want to talk to people? As your parents, I'm looking, mother was a librarian, father was a social worker. At what transition did you go to college?
I went to college for like 2 years, but my head really was not in the game. My mom, through being a librarian for the state, I was able to go to college in Massachusetts for 2 years without paying tuition. So I figured I got to ride this out, but ultimately it just wasn't for me.
It wasn't your desire.
Yeah, but the conversation thing, I mean, I always kind of been like that. Like my parents from a very young age, I was just surrounded by like deep conversation, and my parents having their friends over and talking about politics and everything under the sun. And so I feel like that to me is like the most obvious route in life.
Yeah.
Is to just talk on
Conversation.
camera. Yeah.
But where you are now, talking about where you came from, there wasn't a lot of underground rap going on in New Hampshire.
None. None that I knew of, yeah.
Right.
And even Boston, like even if you go to the largest major city, not known for its hip hop pedigree, even though it's really like not that far away from New York and Philadelphia, which have huge hip hop scenes. So I mean, I spent a lot of time going to hardcore shows and metal shows when I was younger and stuff, even though I was also like primarily listening to rap. But I always felt like rap felt kind of unapproachable to me as a young dude, especially when you think about like throughout my whole time in high school and shit, there was no white rapper besides Eminem. You know, like as a kid, I remember Vanilla Ice and then nothingness until Eminem. But even with him, it didn't exactly feel like, oh, this is like an open entry into hip hop. It still felt like his existence in hip hop was very complicated and controversial. But once I started to get closer to like the underground LA scene, which I didn't realize was basically the origins of the SoundCloud scene, that's when I kind of spotted my entry point to how I could start making hip hop content as well.
Yeah. Were there any type of blogs that inspired you or piqued your interest of the style, the structure, the approach that inspired you?
I feel like there were no blogs left by like 2014, 2015. I was massively influenced by the original hip hop blog era in like 2005, 2006. Just, you know, independent voices coming to the surface, just talking about the rap music that they were into. But by the time, you know, 2014, 2015 rolls around where the SoundCloud wave really gets going, the blog was basically already kind of extinct by that point.
Dying.
So I saw that as like a entry point where like, oh, I can have these long form conversations. And for sure, I remember in my early underground rapper interviews, the number one comment was, why the fuck would anybody think that we would sit down and watch an hour and a half of this shit?
Yeah.
It's just kind of an idea that hadn't really emerged yet. Now we all take it for granted that people would be willing to sit down and invest an hour in an interview.
And that's on the short end.
Yeah.
Like my highest performing content, long form, has been upwards of 2 hours, 2 hours and 30. And the fact that it could have been longer, you see what I'm saying? That's just something that you're saying to yourself, in this realm of entertainment, in this realm of, you know, content consumption, there's no right or wrong way to create it. You see what I'm saying? And I've studied and am studying what you guys, or what you have built in NoJumper. But for me, doing the research, is it Tumblr or Tumblr?
Tumblr.
Tumblr.
There was a NoJumper Tumblr like extremely early on. That's kind of, well, there was just like a Tumblr scene in general that was like,
I remember hearing Jay-Z talking about on my Tumblr, like the characters or whatever the fuck, but it was
honestly, Tumblr was just like a blogging service, but it was like, at that time, there was a lot of people writing about underground rap and what was going on in rap and stuff, and there was kind of a scene on Tumblr, which is kind of where NoJumper got a lot of its early inspiration. Like one anecdote I'll give you is that A$AP Yams had a Tumblr before A$AP Rocky and before everything popped off, and he spent years just updating it. It was realnwordtumblr.com was his Tumblr, and he just like really was posting old ads from The Source and old photos of the Diplomats and all this shit, and just like really painting a picture of what his hip hop pedigree was. And he used that to like build up an audience, and then he found artists in A$AP Rocky and built him up behind the scenes, and then ultimately used his blog to like introduce him to the world. And that was like the opening scene for Rocky's career. And that early on like really showed me like, oh, even if the money doesn't come immediately, there's something huge that I could build as a result of like building up a presence online and being authoritative about this shit.
For sure. I think the thing that's most intriguing about the content space now, and when you're talking about Tumblr, when you're talking about YouTube, when you're talking about blogs in general, it's a form of journalism, right? You have to update that constantly, and the ones who go over and beyond is the ones that get rewarded with the viewership. You see what I'm saying? Because people want a source of information that they can look towards when nothing's going on, and they still find something. And obviously they go there when something's going on. You know that they're gonna have a inside scoop to that. And I'm saying to myself, it's like, yo, this is no school. This is nothing other than saying like, okay, I'm doing my research and I'm repurposing it on my own platform. And I'm saying all that to say I've been an avid opponent to people not needing external school, right? Like college.
Right.
If you want to go to college, cool, but have a purpose. to go to college. Don't be one of these guys like, oh, yo, I'm just buying time for that. Go into that with the mentality like, I'm here for something. I want to see people. I want to be exposed to something. That may be your reason. But there's an engine by the name of Google. There's an engine by the name of YouTube. There's a chick by the name of Siri. There's a chick by the name of Alexa that can teach you some shit, bro, that a professor could never. And you can learn at your own rate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I mean, I don't know about you, but school felt incredibly difficult for me throughout high school and college. But now when I think about it, the idea of going to college and having this nice chunkier life in your early 20s where you're able to really explore ideas and just learn and not necessarily have the pressure of having to have a full-time job and everything feels like the coolest thing ever. And it's like, my parents went so hard their whole lives to like put money aside so that me and my sister would be able to go to college. Right. And when I think about it now, the fact that I took that for granted and didn't give a shit just really stands out to me as like, that's the confidence that only a young person that really doesn't know shit could have, is that I was so certain that I was gonna do big things with my life that I completely blew off this opportunity that my parents had sacrificed for their entire lives. And in a lot of ways, I feel like that really drove me and motivated me to make something out of myself. I remember when I dropped out of college, my mom said, "You fucking idiot, you're gonna end up in jail." And I just told her like, nah, I'm gonna be good. Yeah. And it meant a lot to me to be able to like show her that I was able to be successful without getting a job or having to fall in line.
But when did you get it though? You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people don't, they have this typical life where it's like, yo, small town person with big time dreams. I'm gonna move to LA and I'm gonna be this. I'm gonna be an aspiring rapper. I'm gonna be an aspiring movie star, actress, actor, and everything is gonna figure itself out. But we all have these realizations that life ain't as sweet as our dreams make it out to be. You know what I'm saying? So for you, where was it? When was it? And what was it that you felt like, okay, I'm getting it?
I mean, I feel like as soon as I really started putting myself out there on the internet, like within 6 months of me starting the BMX website, it just took off. And I realized very early on, like, oh, okay, I have a unique skill set because I know everything about BMX bikes and I'm pretty familiar with the internet and I understand blogging and I understand the whole process of creating a website that documents the culture of a certain thing. And that's what I always tell people when they ask me for like how to become successful in life or whatever. I'm like, you need to become an expert in one thing, but don't become so singular in your focus that you don't become an expert in other things. Because realistically, like, you know, who's a huge influence to me was Combat Jack, rest in peace. But he signed me to his podcast network early on, and he was one of the earliest podcasters that influenced the fuck out of me. And he was like the first hip hop lawyer. Yeah. In New York City, where obviously the vast majority of the lawyers are white and shit. He was the young dude who knew everything about hip hop and was able to become Puff's lawyer, was able to become lawyers to all these dudes who probably felt like they could trust him and he spoke their language and shit. So that's an example right there. He had his law degree, but he was also an expert in hip hop. Yeah. And I feel like that's what it is. It's like if you can have a real true level of expertise and then have some other area of expertise, you can mash that shit together and become something that the world hasn't seen before.
When I was doing my research about who and what is Adam22 and the movement that you've created for yourself, there's a trigger word that constantly comes up with either people or expressions of Adam22 is a culture vulture, right? How do you feel when you hear that?
I feel like I only started to hear that once I like reached certain heights, because for me, all of my success is based on just being a real, true, passionate member of the culture. And my skin color, of course, tells a different story. But I feel like, you know, when I'm in these rooms or when I get into these environments, more often than not, people are just impressed by how excited I am about everything involving the culture. And I think that's the only thing that's been able to take me this far. It's like, you know, the culture in particular in hip hop, it's not eager to let a white guy through the door, you know?
For
like
sure.
people make a big deal about me and Vlad, but it's really like just me and Vlad, or primarily, you know, it's like people want to hear from voices that they feel are really specialized and have a level of expertise. And I feel like the fact that I've been like submerged in hip hop since realistically I was like, you know, 9, 10 years old is pretty evident in the content, and the fact that I'm just so passionate about it. And I feel like, if anything, my mission is always to discover shit before it becomes huge, before it becomes popular, and to have those first interviews. So if anything, it's like, it's much more important for me to stay like really, truly tapped into the culture, because, and whenever I see somebody get an interview that I really want with an underground person before I'm able to get it, I mean, that's what troubles me. You know, I know that I'm not gonna necessarily be able to get the massive Elliott Wilson, Jay-Z, Drake interviews or whatever. So I'm making my specialty to focus on tapping in with the culture as early as possible.
And the ground roots. And But do you understand why people would feel that way though? You know what I'm saying? Because I look at it through this realm too. And mind you, I owe a service to not only my desire to know more, but also the viewer. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying to myself, it's like, anytime you talk about certain things, I think the thing that has to happen is you have to see both sides of the story. You have to not only protect yourself and stand up for yourself, but to agree to disagree is better than any other thing in the world sometimes. But at least you know how this person, how this group of people, how this individual may feel, and how they came up with this type of realization. When I look at it, I say to myself, all the interviews that I've seen, all the things that have went viral has been from African-American people, right? Not to shade anything, but I'm like, yo, you didn't come from this. You studied it. But what I will say to you about you and Vlad, you motherfuckers do your homework. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to discredit or to credit somebody else. It's like, bro, if you're studying for the exam and you pass, what the fuck is that saying to the motherfuckers who are in the culture, who are black, and they not using the same approach? You see what I'm saying?
And I don't begrudge anybody their opinion. So it's like, when I read people calling me a culture vulture, it's like, it really doesn't even penetrate my fucking gray matter. Because to me, that's just, I understand that people are gonna feel that way. And my only hope is that I can change those people's opinions. Like I saw that yesterday. We were running around Mechanicsville with Woody all day, and people were coming up to me by the end of the day and just saying like, hey, I didn't know what the fuck I thought of you before, but I fuck with you. Like I appreciate you coming out here and documenting this shit and everything. And you know, that really I think is all you can do, is like, if you want to be viewed as a willing, healthy participant in this culture, you got to just constantly put it out there for people to see, you know?
But you also know that's the price of doing business too.
Of course, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I want to talk to you in regards of the rise of NoJumper. You know what I'm saying? Did you know, prior to you going over and beyond and creating this masterful piece of, or this masterful platform, that podcasting will be as big as it is today?
I think I had a sense that this was the perfect thing for me, but for sure I didn't sense that it was gonna be as big as it is today. And when I say that it was the perfect thing for me, I had been doing BMX content for about 20 years, and I had been riding BMX bikes for 20 years, and I had been doing content for about 10 years. And like the stuff that I moved to LA to do, which was like to go out riding in all these different neighborhoods and go to the skate parks, et cetera, like by the end of the 10 years in LA, it just didn't feel the same anymore. It just felt like too redundant. I had just been doing the same thing for too long. And then once I started really having conversations with a lot of different people on camera, it just clicked like, oh, I could do this forever, because every single person I have a conversation with is gonna be completely different, and every single person I talk to is gonna open the door more for me to have conversations with other people. And me meeting people and creating a network and really just having all these relationships is probably the thing that's gonna take me out of wherever I've been throughout my life. So as soon as I got into it and just got into the learning and just, you know, when I started podcasting, it was the direct result of me staying up until 8 a.m. every day for months, just researching all this shit that I was discovering on the internet when I first got into podcasts and first really got into YouTube. And it felt like every day I was discovering a new creator that I just wanted to know about. And I just have that like lust for knowledge. Like all my childhood memories are reading my parents' magazines and taking the newspaper and reading every single word in it just because I just had this thirst for knowledge. So when the internet came around, a lot of times people complain about the internet and it's too much information. Like as soon as I got my hands on the internet, it was just, this was made for me. Yeah. Like I honestly could say I'm a person who wakes up every day excited to spend a half hour reading Twitter over breakfast. A lot of people have like a bad relationship with Twitter and they look at the dark side of it. To me, this is the alternative to me having to wait around for magazines to show up in my mailbox every week, or every month, which I fucking hated and was very expensive. So to me, to have all this access to all these different YouTube channels and everything as a person who's just obsessed with learning, it's like the best thing on earth.
So plain and simple, as best as you can explain, what is NoJumper's business model?
Our business model, I would say, is to just make content that documents rappers and the weird internet culture is something that Van Lathan put that on me one time. He goes, "It's not a hip hop podcast. It's a weird internet podcast." And I would still say it's a hip hop podcast. I think he's totally wrong, but I will throw the weird internet thing. That is accurate for the most part too. Like, you know, I interviewed a high-priced escort the other day. She charged $4,000 an hour. And it was one of the weirdest, freakiest conversations I ever had. I mean, I don't know. It's just like, I love having conversations with people who are totally off the beaten path as well. Like, I love to interview the next underground drill rapper coming out of Chicago, of which it seems like many times per year, there's gonna be like the new kid that everybody's just all of a sudden paying attention to. But at the same time, I can't stop myself from also going down, you know, having political conversations and talking to strange up and coming YouTube phenomenons and shit like that. Like, if anything, I feel like that gets upsetting to the audience sometimes. It's like upsetting and exciting for me to like not be willing to just stick to one thing. Like if I had just done underground rappers my whole career, it would have been very easy in a way. But at the same time, I feel like I gotta constantly go outside the box as well.
It was something. You said you had a conversation with a high-priced escort that charges $4,000 per hour.
Which is way too much.
Okay.
I'm not willing to pay that much.
What are you willing to pay?
I mean, a G an hour seems like that's already too much. But I don't know. I haven't really done this. I'm gonna be real. I just haven't really like dabbled too much.
Can we talk about this?
Sure. I don't have a lot of experience with buying vagina though. There's too many women on staff. I can't talk the way I want to talk. Fuck it, I'm gonna talk to the world.
Please.
High price pussy. I haven't really like spent a lot of. I haven't dabbled in the escort world much.
Yeah.
I would love to, honestly. I have so much respect for their profession. I feel like I should support more.
Okay. So this is our first time ever talking, right?
Right.
Finish this statement.
Yeah.
The best things in life are
revenge and pussy, right? That's what Pac told me. Nah, but for real, fatherhood.
Oh my God.
But I mean, it feels kind of weird to put that on the list.
Okay, let's do a group activity. For the people that's in the back, we're gonna all say out loud, since we all on the same Wi-Fi. The best things in life are what? Free.
Oh, well, okay. That's one way to look at it, yeah.
Free.
Sure.
So, $4,000 an hour?
Hey, I didn't pay it. I was just talking.
But how does she come up with those rates?
Supply and demand, I guess. She said she makes like $100K a month on OnlyFans too, so I'm assuming that she's got a lot of potential customers.
Can somebody help me out real quick? Calculator. A typical 9 to 5 is a 12-hour day, right? 4,000 times 12 is what?
Well, really, it's an 8-hour day, but
That's an 8-hour day.
8
I'm
hours.
sorry.
Yeah.
Apologies. I went to night school. Brain shut off right now. $32,000 in a given.
Which, yeah.
Who the fuck's paying that?
I mean, realistically, probably guys like us.
No.
Not specifically us, but guys with expendable income.
Okay. But this is what I will say to the guys like us.
Right.
Y'all fucking the game up, bro. y'all fucking the game up. In the words of an OG, just use your nouns and verbs.
Right.
It's just talking.
Right.
The art of spitting game is a dying skill. What's going on, baby? How you doing? You good? Man, what that is? Lotus flower bomb? Oh, it's not? Damn. What is that, a waist trainer? That waist snatch like that? I just wanted to see you smile, baby. That's all. How you doing? Just come on, carry on.
Compliment the waist trainer. That's a good one, yeah.
It could be anything. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If it's free, it's for me. I'm not about to sit. I've never seen myself ever pay for something that is free. And that's not to knock a trade, because I will say this. I have a personal experience. Today is Monday. On Saturday, I reach out to an individual. I say, yo, I got some partners that want to come play, you know what I'm saying, cards. They want to gamble. They just want to be around some girls. Cool. If you and your girls are around, y'all out, y'all come stop by, right? She then replies and says, okay, let me hit some of my girls up. 30 minutes later, she then says, they said, it's going to be $2,500. I said, pardon me? $2,500 for what? Just to hang out? Who the fuck?
See, this is the fucked up part, is that we now live in a world where these girls know their value. Because if it ain't you paying that rate, somebody else is probably gonna be paying that rate. Or something,
But
they know their customer.
But that's the thing. Who the fuck's paying? They fucking it up for everybody else.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because it shouldn't be no rate in anything. It should just be like, if you really want to come and hang out, you should just want to come hang out. I shouldn't have to pay you for that.
Right.
Not direct pay. Indirect pay is what every man and every woman does. Indirect means, hey, we're going to go to dinner. I'm not expecting the female to pay for it. I'm going to pay for it. That dinner may cost anywhere from $80 to $800, depending on how much wine we drink, how much shots she drink, how many damn caviar and lobster tails, whatever the fuck. You see what I'm saying? I come from the old school cloth where it was just nouns and verbs. No payment. You dig what I'm saying? Because I asked her this. Would you pay to go hang out with them, or to have a man come hang out with you? She then replied, no, I'm a lady. I said, okay, cool. I'm a man.
Right.
So I'm not about to sit up here and pay you to do something, or my partners are not about to sit up here and pay you to do something that somebody else would do willingly.
Right. And I just don't know where the world goes from here, because it's like we used to live in a world where all these girls were happy to spend time around cool, successful dudes just to appreciate the ambiance, or go on a date with a guy who's successful just because you're thinking like, hey, maybe this will turn into something more serious as time goes by. The other day I had this beautiful girl on the podcast, and she's from nothing, Rochester, upstate New York. She's not from any kind of money or anything like that. She's 24. She told me if a guy wants to go on a date with her, if he wants to even get into the arena of dating her, he needs to be paying all her bills.
Just to date her? You all know I love going to live events, whether it's a football game or a concert. Nothing beats a live experience. That's why I'm all about Game Time. The Game Time Picks feature shows you only the best deals, so you can easily find and snag the top offers without wasting time looking through countless hours. I was just on the app looking for tickets for the next Auburn-Georgia game. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the code FUNKY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code FUNKY for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Like, hold on, what are we
I was like, I'm not meant for this world. I've been in a relationship for 8 years.
Yeah.
So this is quite foreign to me.
Yeah.
But when I heard that, I was like, this world is really fucked up.
No, it's the dudes.
Yeah.
See, it's the dude. I'm not blaming the females for charging that because we don't call that nothing other than that's a sucker fee.
Right.
If a sucker gonna pay that, you gotta lick him.
But she's out there in Miami. They got infinite suckers.
But they also got infinite sand.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
So it's like, bro, what happened to when you like something that you see, you approach her with respect, and you put your nouns and verbs, some adjectives there, and then boom, boom, boom. And she looks at you and she say, you know what, take my number. I know the shit was changing when the motherfucker started saying, no, don't take my number. Here, follow me on Insta.
Because that means one thing and one thing only is let's stay in communication, but also I want you to see how cool I am. I want you to see all my social clout that I have listed off here in the form of my follower count or whatever nice restaurants I'm showing on my story every night.
Free game for the dudes. Free game, because I gotta keep it funky. If she's showing this extravagant lifestyle, chances are she's with a guy.
Oh yeah. And chances are he's paying.
For you to show the caviar, to show the Rolls Royce, the Bentley, to show the private jet, she's with a dude.
Yeah.
Now, I heard a meme, I seen a meme that said, why you showing all these bikini suits? You also got to show that sugar daddy that's paying for it too.
And once you get to really know the girls, sometimes you get on their close friends, and then you actually get to see who's footing the bill. There's a beautiful girl I know the other day, I seen her on a private jet, and I'm just thinking, what the fuck is she doing on there? I click through one or two more, and I see the superstar who had her on the private jet, and I'm like, okay. But she don't want to show him. Even though like that's the best flex she could possibly have if she was putting that on her public story, but instead she's got it burrowed away to, 100 people who are seeing her close friends.
But is a woman knowing her value, is it realistic sometimes?
I mean,
like for a girl to say, hey, my value is blah, blah, blah.
right.
$4,000 an hour.
I respect a girl who does that on an individual basis, but I hate what it's taking away from us, which is the idea of being a guy and finding a girl who you're on similar levels with, and you really fuck with each other, and you come together to build something. You build a family, you build a business, you build whatever it is. Like, I'm still holding on to that fantasy because when I met my girl, we were on the same exact level. We had nothing going on really, and we built something crazy together. And I feel like it's got to be tough to be the guy who's got everything going for you. I saw a tweet the other day that said that America has been fucked up for a long time, and it started to be fucked up when rich men stopped marrying waitresses. And I just thought, like, yes, every rich guy I know would probably have a huge aversion to marrying a waitress because you put yourself in that position, you have all the power and all the money, and then all of a sudden you're basically putting her on equal footing.
No. I will say this. Given the circumstances of my previous guests, I must say this. How many times, not to demonize, not to suppress, but just this is just a cultural phenomenon that we've known to understand. How many times have we seen a wealthy guy date an unwealthy woman versus a wealthy woman date an unwealthy guy?
Very rare. Yeah, this is a big disparity there.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you say rich guys dating waitresses, that's a more common thing rather than a polarizing person who may be an artist, may be a movie star, may be a lawyer, may be a doctor, may be successful in her own right, is not going to date lower than her expectations.
But you see it once in a while. Nicki Minaj goes back to, she dates Meek Mill, one of the top rappers. She ends up dating the guy that she was in a relationship with when she was 16. What's her name? Ariana Grande ends up in a relationship with some regular Joe who was, dancing on her tour, or some actor guy or whatever. And it's like, you do see women do that from time to time because women have different demands. Like a woman wants a lot of time out of a guy. A lot of the OnlyFans girls I know who make multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars per month are dating guys who are basically the most regular fucking dudes ever. Sit around, rolling backwoods, and just chilling. Why? Why is that a good relationship fit? Because that girl needs a man who's gonna be at her beck and call all day. And she probably wouldn't want to be in a relationship with somebody like me who's running around the country doing shit all the time. She might want to be in a relationship with me, but it would be very inconvenient for her because she needs dick to be able to chew on camera. And if I'm off doing my thing 12 hours a day, it's gonna be tough.
So there's some truth to what you said, but I would like to polish it up a little.
Much needed, yes.
Right? And I'm just here to listen, not to judge. This is a judgment-free zone. But anybody successful needs somebody that's available. Right? No matter if it's the man that's successful and is in pursuit of a partner or a person, girlfriend, wife, whatever you want, or a woman who's extremely successful and looking for a boyfriend, fling, husband, whatever. You need somebody who is accessible, right? So as a working man who is built off of discipline and routine, wake up, take the kids to school, wake up, go to the office, wake up, go get content, wake up, do that. Like those type of things, you need people who are accessible to when, hey, I got a couple hours. Hey, what you doing? Blah, 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 blah. The same for women. Like when I think about, you say Nicki Minaj, you say Ariana Grande, when they are ready to settle, as in chill, right? When you got a couple of days, I don't know them personally, never really met them. But knowing my schedule, I would say that you need somebody who's able to be, who's readily available when you need them to be available. It sounds fucked up, but it's true. You feel me? So I'm looking at a situation where I'm saying to myself, like, that's a normal reality for individuals who have a lot going on. That doesn't make the people or the person that you're desiring or that you're with low vibrational.
True.
Or low functioning. It's just one of these situations that we say, hey, I don't have time to be in New York when I'm working in LA. And yeah, FaceTime is cool, babe. Calling and constant text is cool. But I want to kiss you. I want to hug you. I want to touch you. I want to Netflix with you. I want to peacock with you, baby. You dig what I'm saying? Like all
Not
that.
peacock.
Yeah,
Don't peacock
I
with her.
need you. It was a double entendre.
I like that, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's a new one for you. You feel me? I thought about that all by myself. You feel me?
No, but that's real talk because for real, like one of the biggest challenges with me and my wife is that in the early days of our relationship, she was trailing me, just coming around. If I had a festival to go to or if I had a big podcast in New York, boom, she was on the plane with me. Now we got a kid. Her career is busier than it's ever been. So it's like, it can be a little bit difficult when, I hit the road, I'm in Atlanta for 4 days and it's like, she would probably love if she had the kind of free time it would require for her to be able to just chill and take in the sights and hang out with me.
For sure.
all that. But, you know, it's like as our life gets more structured, that becomes more and more difficult.
Yeah. I think, too, children are a blessing. Mm-hmm. But once you add a child into the equation, things change.
Big time.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I want to still stay here on, you know, just the NoJumper, right? And I mean, I've been doing research for the last 24 to 72 hours on how to navigate through this specific type of discussion. There's been a large influx of different talent that has came, gone throughout the Rolodex of individuals that you've worked alongside with, right? Now, I've heard a lot, I've seen a lot, not to just talk about the Culture Vulture and just hammer home on that. I just want you to, because I heard this, Adam22 is a racist. Are you?
No, not at all. I've never really heard anybody put forth a good argument for that one, to be honest with you. It's like,
but you've heard it.
A little bit, but not really from anybody I respect. Not from anybody who I felt like put like real effort into making the claim.
Yeah.
You know? The worst things that I think people have been able to point is me having, you know, different political type characters on the podcast over the years, being willing to have conversations with people who are, you know, past or present racists, I guess. But I don't know. I've never really related to that at all. You know, honestly, I grew up in an environment where when I first got exposed to racist jokes through Howard Stern, shout out Howard Stern, one of my biggest influences early on.
Bro, you are the modern day Howard Stern.
Thank you, I appreciate that. We all are in many ways.
I forgot to add that in the intro, but it's like, bro, and as I'm thinking, I'm like, yo, this is the modern day Howard Stern.
Right.
Like, Howard Stern did it over the radio airways, so he painted a picture in your mind as like, oh yeah, you got a nice rack right there, okay.
Right, but Howard Stern switched it up at some point.
Yeah.
I'm never switching it up. We're gonna stay raunchy forever. Yeah, I gotta be that. The streets need that.
Keep it funky.
But my thing is, Howard Stern, like listening to that as a 12-year-old, I'm hearing him make all kinds of jokes, racial. He's making a lot of jokes about his own Judaism, his own identity. And I brought that to my parents, started cracking jokes like that around my parents. And oh man, we had the sit down to end all sit downs about how it's not okay to make racist jokes or how it's not okay to look down upon anybody because of their identity. People always think because I'm from New Hampshire that I might have grown up with conservative parents when I actually grew up with the most liberal parents who were teaching me all about different cultures. And you know, my parents had gay friends when I was a kid in the 80s and shit. And I don't know. It's like I surround myself with a lot of great black minds whenever possible. My publicist, Laura. I got my guy, Remo, right here, is one of the best people I hired in recent years. You know, even the on-camera talent, people like Brick Baby, who, if anything, you know, that's a big part of what I want to do with NoJumper is to just elevate, like, incredible black voices in the culture.
But I think that's it though. Like Remo.
Right.
Right? No disrespect to him. I respect him as a man. And he's standing right here. You said hired him. Mm-hmm. So in retrospect, you are superior in some regard. Do you have black friends that aren't on your payroll?
Oh, of course. I mean, I feel like such a huge
that
percentage.
You have discussions with and just say like, hold on.
Oh, yeah.
This is why we feel the way we feel about certain topics and discussions. And I fuck with you, Adam. Like, I ain't one of these dudes that's not to say he can't be that he can't do that. I'm just saying when people make these claims, it's coming from a source where it's like, bro, they see that a lot of people that are around you are on payroll. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Rather than people that are like, have this organic desire for you to win and looking out for your best interests.
And honestly, though, that's something I kind of battle with is that I have so many incredible people on the podcast and I feel like I develop friendships with a huge percentage of them. But then because of the fucking constant churn of guests, it sometimes feels like I don't necessarily have the time or just the brain power to maintain relationships with them as much as I would like to. But for sure, it's like, a big part of the people I hire, I feel like, is just that they need to be able to question me. They need to be able to tell me what's going on and not just let me feel like I know everything, you know? So it's like, if anything, I've had conversations with people who work for me where I tell them like, hey, you need to be able to like tell me what's popping. Like you need to be able to tell me when I'm wrong about something. Yeah. And a lot of times I'll show up in the morning with a list of questions in my head of just shit that I've been watching online. And it's like, hey, tell me what's really going on with this. Cause I just watched some YouTube documentaries about this shit and I just wanna know what the word on the street is. And a lot of times when I hit somebody like Remo or Brick Baby with that, they tell me what's really going on a level that I just wouldn't have been able to piece together through just watching shit on YouTube. So, you know, I'm looking to be challenged. Like I don't wanna be in relationships or have friends with people who aren't willing to like challenge me or give me
hold you accountable.
More shit to think about, yeah.
For sure. But I'm curious to know, growing up in New Hampshire, right? What was your first interaction, a normal interaction with a black person? Like on a consistent basis. Did you go to school with black people?
Yeah, but it was like a relatively small percentage. I feel like my schools growing up might have been like 10% black or some shit.
Yeah.
So it was like, I always would have friendships with the black kids I went to school with because typically they were the ones who seemed like they knew what was going on with rap, and I was always so thirsty for friends to talk about rap with.
Yeah.
Like I remember in high school that there was a table full of black kids and I would just kind of go sit with them and just be like, yo, so y'all fuck with Big L? Literally. Yeah. And there's like actually people from my high school who could tell you that story about me just like kind of showing up and just being like, hey, what's going on? And they would laugh at me and like really clown me for being like a over the top hip hop head. But at the same time, like I felt like they fucked with me. And honestly, like though New Hampshire is just like such a small percentage of black people. But by the time I moved to New York was when I really started to feel like I kind of understood a little bit more, because like riding BMX out in the streets in Brooklyn and Queens every day for all those years, like I just started to really kind of understand this world that I was trying to decode.
How old were you when you went to?
I moved there when I was in, I think I was 21.
Can you do something for a man?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. But that's kind of similar to my transition to white people, right? I always tell this story in regards to my interactions with Caucasians were either a person of superior, law enforcement, a teacher, didn't really have any everything for the first 17, 18 years of my life was black. I'm talking about like Wakanda. Like, that's it. I went to college to the University of Florida, and that was my first interaction with a normalcy interaction with Caucasians. And I didn't know how to it was like, whoa, like what's happening? And it was one thing, cause like the coaches, like they would talk to you a certain type of way, and you use the word or a way of expression is like speaking their language. And I had a hard time adjusting to, I'm like, bro, who the fuck you talking to like this? Right. You know what I'm saying? But that was what I had. It was not getting used to. It's just, I did not know how to interpret that type of talk.
Right.
It wasn't, looking back at it, it wasn't that it was inappropriate or anything. It was just like, I wasn't used to the dialogue between a black man and a white man until I was damn near an adult. You see what I'm saying? And when we have racial discussions, when we have cringing discussions about culture, about race, I think that the biggest thing as a grown man, as an adult, that I can give any Caucasian person is we're not looking for you to say, okay, I agree with that. We just want empathy. We want you to just look at it through our lens, where there was a time when police brutality was at its height. And I think the NFL did they worked towards informing people to merge the relationship between police and pedestrians, right? And they will use influencers, football players, entertainers to kind of bridge that gap together. And we had opportunities to speak hand in hand with, you know what I'm saying, the law enforcement. And one of the main things is like having children, having a real discussion with our children of how to act when you get pulled over. And when you have these conversations with other races, other ethnicity groups, it's a little alarming. Like, wait, what? Y'all do that over the dinner table? It's like, yeah, motherfucker, you got to. Shit, I want to see my son at night. I want to see my daughter at night. I want them to understand, like, yo, bro, you got dreads, son. Even though I look at that as a beauty, I look at that as strength. Some people look at that as like cringing or like harmful. They look like a person with dreads is dangerous. You know what I'm saying? And it's not for something that I'm telling you this and you're saying like, oh, damn, bro, I get it. I understand. It's like, no, bro, it's not always the same though. You know what I'm saying? So as long as you can kind of put yourself in my shoes, and when you go out here and you say like, yo, bro, I'm Adam22. Sometimes I be feeling like, yo, I walk outside this realm of who Cam Newton is and I'm still a nigga. You know what I'm saying? And it's just one of those situations that these conversations can't happen enough. But that's why it's very important to have these conversations about race, about anything with different perspectives, different views, different vantage points, because that's the only way that the culture is going to get pushed forward. You see what I'm saying? So all in all, bro, it's like some of my most intriguing experiences, some of my mentors, some of my people who I've idolized from afar have been teammates that were white. You know what I'm saying? I've always been on record to saying this person came into my life at a time that I was so vulnerable. A white man by the name of Tim Jackson. I met him at Auburn. And I seen every single day he was just dressed to the nines. And growing up in the South, like he would wear a suit and then he would wear boots. And I would always kick shit and like, man, why the fuck you wearing, I won't curse that. And I had, like, he was like, why you wearing these damn boots? And then he would always hear me say, bruh, hey, what's up, bruh? Then he started saying it too. He's like, come on, bruh. You know I'm swaggy, bruh. And you know, like I was teaching him lingo, but little did he know he was teaching me how to be professional.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I would be so intrigued to ask questions like, yo, like, at this point, as my life is changing, I knew I was going to the league. I would ask him real questions like, what should I do with my money? You know what I'm saying? And he told me this thing one time, and I was in my feelings about something. This was right before, I believe it was the Georgia game. And a lot of people didn't have my ear where I was like really listening to him. Tim had my ear. And he gained my trust by just showing up constantly, being a vessel of like, okay, this is how you live. This is how you take care of yourself. Like, do you need anything? I'm not your yes man, but I'm here to kind of nurture and protect you while you're away from home. And he was like, bro, I know you and your feelings. I don't really know what it is, but you have to understand, I'm trying to put you in a position where you'll never have to work a job a day of your life again. You have to look the part. You have to act the part. And that's not selling yourself. That's just about being professional. I never had a person tell me that.
Wow.
And this is from a Caucasian. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying to myself, I'm like, damn, bro, like that's some real ass shit. And those type of interactions, so to the person who's like, yo, I don't have no white friends, it's like, no, I can't say that. Because I do. I have some people who really have put me on game in ways that other people who I grew up with, I don't think they could have, you know what I'm saying? And I just respect him so much for nurturing me through that vulnerable time of my life because I was growing so fast. It was like I was having growing pains of stardom. It was like I went from a nobody to somebody all in the span of 2 months.
Right.
And he was there the whole way. He was like, yo, bro, like, he saw, I sat down with him And my first contract came through him, right? Where it was like, not came through him, it was like to see it, I was literally intrigued to say, like, what does all this mean? Like, blah, 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 blah. I didn't end up signing a contract. I got way more money. But he was some of the things that he was just redlining, saying like, yo, you got to be prepared to like, what does perpetuity mean? You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, what does these things mean right here? And he was just so patient with me. And that's what I needed. So.
No, that's a beautiful thing right there.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's an amazing thing to be able to make mistakes in your life and learn from it, but it's even better for you to be able to learn those mistakes without having to make them, through having people in your life that are intelligent enough to put you on game before you actually have to suffer a devastating financial loss. Or like, you think about all the rappers who signed fucked up contracts.
For sure.
Who just needed somebody in their life who had a little bit more insight that would have been able to, you know, spare them from a situation that lost them millions of dollars.
Right, for sure. I know I keep going off, but I want to get back to
No, it's good, it's good.
You know, NoJumper. But what's more important to you, storytelling or going viral?
Okay, I was gonna say this before when you were talking about how people love when you do a 2-hour conversation. I feel like as much as it's nice to go viral, it's nice to have that 20-second clip that goes bigger than anything else you've ever done.
Right.
I feel like the 2, 3, 4 hour long conversation is a superpower in a lot of ways.
Right.
Because
it's a skill.
You're not gonna be able to take the 4-hour conversation and turn it into a TikTok, you know? A lot of the most viral moments that you or I might ever have are not gonna really be monetized by us. It's gonna be other people taking it and putting it on TikTok, put it on their Instagram Reels or Twitter, et cetera. And it's like, the real long drawn out conversation is like the thing that you just can't fake. So to me, for sure, that's the number one. From a business perspective, the long form conversation I think is way more valuable than the viral moment. The viral moment is important for exposure. If you've never been seen by 99% of people, you know, just the other day, there's a rap group that I know, and I seen them fake a fight on camera. It's a Mexican rap group, and they had a black dude interviewing them, and the guy called them an offensive word beginning with B that Mexican people don't love too much. And they basically like pretended to beat this guy's ass. And I was like, you know, I mean, if you're kind of on square one, then you might just have to do that. You might have to fake some shit. You might have to do some crazy, you know, ridiculous shit in order to get people to pay attention to you. But I feel like at the point I'm at, even the most viral 20-second clip, because there's all kinds of firms you can pay now, kids who want to get paid a couple $100 a month to just watch all your shit and just find moments to clip and put it on every different platform. I don't feel like it does that much for you in the long run. It definitely doesn't do shit compared to creating a fan base of millions of people who are excited to watch your shit. You know?
I think what's important is for people to understand, as you create content, you have to understand your business. Right? How does Adam22 get paid?
Honestly, it's just a lot of different things, you know? It's like we make money from YouTube, Facebook, Snapchat, the audio version, people who listen on the podcast apps. And then on top of that, like, you know, we have weird revenue streams that I would have never predicted 3 or 4 years ago, like our Instagram. We sell a lot of promo on there. It's like different artists and just people who want to get their message out and everything like that. And then on the other side of the business with Plug Talk, it's mostly based on subscription revenue. And then, you know, we'll have sponsors on the podcast who want to just have their product be placed in front of people's eyes, shit like that. So it's kind of just cobbled together through like a shitload of different revenue streams. It's not like we just have one that's 90% of the income. It's like a ton of little.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but if you had like a pie, right? And this is not to be nosy, this is more informative for the masses. Because in any type of content, right, as a platform or as a piece of work, how we get paid is brand deals, right? And AdSense from different platforms. Now yours may be different, you know what I'm saying? But I'm asking that in regards to when people see like, yo, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, I'm like, but how are you making money? You know what I'm saying? Do you know how or what's needed for you to make money. Are you on a platform that you could get the best return on your content? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm asking, I'm not trying to be intrusive. I'm just asking for empowerment for the viewer.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it started out with just YouTube, you know, and that was just everything. I never thought there would be a way to monetize that content outside of YouTube. But then as time goes by and you start figuring out there's a lot of different platforms you could put it on, just in terms of social media, but then even beyond that, you know, you see somebody like Nori go and get a deal with Revolt. You see all these different people who are able to kind of find big corporations or even radio that are able to sort of get your content out there to more and more people. I feel like all that shit is real valuable. And I'm always just on the lookout for what the next platform is going to be that's going to grab people's attention. You know, it's like, obviously we've dumped plenty of time and attention into TikTok, which hasn't really panned out as being like a serious moneymaker. But at the same time, it's like, if tomorrow TikTok just turns out to be the best revenue source that anybody has going, I don't want to be left behind. You know, I've been building up my Snapchat following for 10 years. And only in the last couple of years were we ever able to make any kind of money off it, which makes me thankful as fuck that I put so much time into Snapchat just for the exposure for all those years. I was doing it just so that when I did an interview, I would have more people that I'd be able to present the interview to. Right. And it turns out that's directly like a big source of revenue for us.
I'm intrigued to know, how do you, like, what's your ingredient with looking for talent for your platform, right? Talked about different people coming and going and staying. Like, what do you see? Is it entertainment? Is this person informative? Is he a nerd? Is she, you know, sexy? Does she know what she's talking about? How does, you know, Adam say, okay, that person got it, I want that person to be on?
I mean, normally I can really feel out how people feel about a person by just having them on the podcast, you know?
But how though?
How the audience reacts to them is huge, but then also I have like my own internal rating of like basically what I think of their talents. Because I've had the experience over and over of bringing people onto the podcast and having the audience not be big fans of them, and then, you know, just kind of put them in front of the same audience over and over and over, and after a couple months they start to like them, you know? But I feel like more than anything, the thing that's valuable to me is to be able to have like an objective conversation about something outside of your life. Because it's one thing for me to be able to sit here and have a conversation with you about myself. Like that's one level of talent as a broadcaster, is to be able to talk about yourself. And it's another level to be able to interview somebody and ask them about themselves. And I feel like those two are very fucking easy for me. Yeah. The thing that's a little bit more of a challenge is to be able to throw out a current event and have to be able to have a take on that will be in any way interesting to people. And I feel like the people who do the best in the media game, whether it's academics or Joe Budden, they're the ones who are the best at talking about something that has nothing to do with them and being able to provide some real insight and say things that people care about. And that's kind of like the pinnacle, most difficult thing to do in podcasting to me. And anytime I start to kind of sniff that out of a person, when I will be interviewing them and then I hear them start to talk about things outside of themselves, I can only judge you so much based on how you talk about yourself, because of course all of us are sitting around thinking about ourselves all the time, and that's kind of child's play in comparison. But if I'm able to say like, you know, and especially if you're somebody who keeps up on the news so much that this isn't going to be difficult for you to be able to be like, oh, you know, Future's in a new relationship. Let's talk about Future's love life. Yeah. And you're so tapped into the news feed that you've actually got some interesting thoughts about that. Yeah. I mean, that very few people are on that level. Some people, if you give them a paycheck to pay attention to the news and come in equipped with takes, that could be good too. But like to just sort of have that natural ability where you really pay attention to the culture, because quite often you hire somebody and you kind of figure out like, oh, this guy don't know what the fuck's going on. Like he's not really paying attention to the world outside, and like pulse. Yeah. And that's like one of the most valuable types of people that I want to bring onto the team, are people who pay even closer attention to me and are going to be able to bring me, whether it's artists or stories or whatever that we should be covering, that are not things that would necessarily, like that's the problem with becoming like more well off and more successful, is it's very easy for the things that are below, that are underground to hit your radar. But I really believe that culture is built from the ground up. Yeah. Like the next dope clothing brand is gonna be made by some kids from the hood, realistically, that managed to get their shit into the hands of influential people. But it's very rare that you see like a giant corporation think up a clothing line and then that ends up hitting the people. Like, and if they do, you know what they do? They go to the fucking young people in the streets or the young rappers and they build it up through them.
Right.
So I feel like, you know, for me, staying in touch with the underground, and like I know so much more about the underground and about like street level shit than mainstream shit. You know, like a lot of times I'll have to ask my girl, who is this actor? And it'll be like some guy with 30 million Instagram followers and I'm just totally in the dark. Yeah. But meanwhile, I know way too much about all the underground Atlanta drill rappers, for example, that are coming out, you know? But meanwhile, I had to Google who Ryan Reynolds was the other day.
Really?
Yeah.
Deadpool?
I don't really go to the movies. I don't watch movies. I don't know what the hell's going on with the movie world.
We don't get to that. But for sure, I think in anything in life, first you got to give a fuck, right? Mm-hmm. If you get put on an opportunity, and this is just a message for all, bro, you got to give a fuck. Mm-hmm. Give a fuck meaning like, let me do my research. You know what I'm saying? If I know I'm gonna be talking to Adam22, bro, like let me find out as much as I can from my sweetheart Siri, from my sweetheart Alexa, from my partner Google, or my partner YouTube. Like real talk, it's all there, you know what I'm saying? For you not to use these resources, and they always say, don't be a dummy with a smartphone. You feel me? And those type of things, and the ones who get it, they're able to use that and also provoke thought. And when I think about the Howard Sterns of the world, the Larry Kings of the world, the Oprah Winfreys, the Skip Bayless, the Stephen A. Smiths, Adam22, Vlad, like all these people, Joe Rogan, they provoke thought. They make you think about something, and whether you agree with it or not, you still can have an opinion and say, oh, Cam's a fucking idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Or, hey, I never thought about it like that. And Cam does got a point in that regard. So please do your research in regards to that. Now, understanding with your platform, I've been intrigued to understand like, yo, you have put a lot of people on your platform that nobody knows anything about. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's been like, yo, okay, this is like their coming out party. And then it also turns into like a fight on set. It turns into like real beef where you're trying to verbally squash it, and it don't always turn out like that. You know what I'm saying? How do you know when it's about to get a little chippy?
You know, I go into every interview in particular really just trying to be as hospitable as possible. And like my attitude in an interview is that I'm not trying to alpha man this conversation at all. I'm trying to, if anything, fall back, let you talk. I'm trying to have you talk 80, 90% of the time. And I'm trying to just be the one guiding this conversation along. But it's like, as you spend more time with people on camera, or if you're having a conversation with somebody who decides that they want to like take it there, I think you also have to be willing to stand on business. You have to be willing
to stand on business.
Yeah, you got to stand on business. You got to do it. Like, and so sometimes I will end up in an argument with somebody on camera where, you know, they don't want to give in, or they don't want to make things easy for me. And I try not to shy away from that. I feel like, because that's great content, realistically. If we have a disagreement, I mean, the most viral part of this conversation would be if we really found something that we disagreed on. And sometimes there will be podcasters I'm dying to see together. My boy Destiny just did a podcast with Sam Harris, who I've been reading his books and listening to him for like 15 years. And they didn't disagree on anything. And it felt like a little bit of a letdown. I'm like, oh, you guys are so similar, you could barely find anything that you disagree on. So it was a cool conversation, but it wasn't a knockdown, drag out battle or anything, you know? So if anything, it's easy to be on autopilot and to just coast through a conversation. And I notice it in myself too. Sometimes I'll be having a conversation with somebody and they'll say, you know this rapper from this city, and like he had this song back in the day, and I'll catch myself being like, yeah, for sure, yeah. And not really thinking about it. That's the weak ass version of myself. Yeah. The better version of myself is the version that goes, I don't know him. Like, pull out my phone, search up the video, be like, oh, okay, I heard this song before. All right, start putting the puzzle together, because a lot of times people are just trying to fill in the blanks for you and put you on game. And it's like, if you get too stuck up in your celebrity, big head mind state to be able to really absorb that shit, then you're not really living, you know?
True. Anytime you've ever been in a situation where you fear for your life?
Yeah, a couple times. A couple shootouts.
Care to share?
One time I went to a party on La Brea, and this is maybe 2015, and a rapper I know showed up and started shooting at another rapper I know. And to be real, I fucking threw myself against the wall behind a t-shirt rack. And the next day, I'm on YouTube, or I'm on Twitter, and somebody tagged me and said, damn, Adam22 is a good dude. He jumped on top of my little sister at this party when there was a shootout to protect her. And I remember just thinking, like, what? Like, there was a girl there? Like, apparently when I dove behind the t-shirt rack,
she was there too.
A little girl, like, dove behind me. I didn't see her. I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. Yeah. But that was a slightly scary moment. But, I mean, there's been a couple times, you know, where I've just been around some bullshit going down, but I try not to move like that. You know, I'm trying to always be on point in any situation that I get into, even if it feels like kind of a long shot that anything real serious would happen. But I try not to get caught lacking, as they say.
No, but a lot of your conversations, some of your conversations are contentious, right? And you know, just like in any, like you ain't interviewing pastors, you ain't interviewing nuns, you ain't interviewing monks. Like, so there's a sense of testosterone or alphaism, and you can see it in the video. It's like two cobras that's looking at each other. Like, hold on, motherfucker, who the fuck you talking about? And it's just like, that's why you gotta stand on business. And yeah, but it's also like, after that standing, have you ever been like, when the camera's cut, it's like, oh.
I feel like off camera, it's always all good. And I also feel like the most gangsterous dudes that I've ever interviewed are the types of dudes who are gonna really respect you for standing up for yourself in the conversation. And especially because I don't come from that world. You know, it's like, it might be hard for a dude who really comes from like a street background to sit down with certain people.
Right.
And especially just some of the passes that I get. Like in LA, I'm cool with like the vast majority of, you know, rappers and people from all kinds of different neighborhoods. And when I look at the people that I know from LA, I see how much more complicated it is for them politically to be able to deal with everybody from all over the city. And I'm kind of given an amount of leeway in that regard that is really like an amount of privilege that I'm really thankful for, and that I need to be appreciative of, because of the fact that I don't really, you know, people don't feel the need to wrap a white boy up in their drama or their politics a lot of times. Whereas a lot of times for a black dude, they want you to choose sides.
Everybody has to choose a side.
Yeah, but not, I mean, I get away with not choosing a side way more than most people
but
would.
you can't, but a lot of times you're instigating it respectfully, because your platform has become such a source for information,
right,
that you're doing your job. But also, it's like, you know what's gonna come from having two individuals sit down, or having an individual sit down and talk, and then your next episode or next episode after that, you're having the opposing person come sit down and talk to.
I feel like podcasting, as far as the streets go, a lot of times has like an ability to do things that we just don't really see. Like Brick Baby is a self-admitted neighborhood crip. It's not me snitching saying that. He's from Rolling 60s crip. And I had him on the podcast sitting down with a Hoover named Big Deal. And that is not something that people probably ever thought would have been possible 10 years ago. And somehow I've seen that happen a bunch of times on the podcast world, where you'll just have people who would never, ever normally be able to sit down together, and they're happy to make it happen because in this environment, it feels safe, and we got security, and we got everything handled, and there's an amount of respect because of the fact that I'm bringing them together. And you know, these are people who I see the way they are together, and they do have respect for each other.
For sure.
But it would have been a lot of social stigma and a lot of pressure for them to not sit down together. But somehow podcasting brings people together in a lot of ways. So as much as sometimes the podcast can drum up a bit of contention, I feel like it has the opposite effect more often than people really want to give it credit to. That's not going to be the shit that goes viral, is when you have two people from opposing tribes who are able to sit down together, you know?
I think that was going to be my next question, because so much of Adam22, we hear the negative stigma, so to speak, about it. Oh, he a culture vulture. Oh, he just used black people's stories to get rich and magnify that. He's suppressing our culture. But also, there's some good that comes from you trying to squash a beef, you trying to use your platform to update people as far as certain things, because I think that's also important too, with the understanding of knowing that you do have a superpower with influence. You know what I'm saying? We use that word very loosely these days, influencer. There's few people who really have influence, and the platform that you've created has garnered that type of attention. Last question before we get to the game. What is the main purpose or goal for NoJumper? Like, what do you want the consumer to take away from the content that you produce?
You know, one of my favorite negative comments that people leave is just, who the fuck is this guy? Or we subscribe to this channel for this artist, and this artist, and now you're hitting us with this guy. And I just love that is a natural reaction to me, just like opening people's minds up and challenging them by, I want the average NoJumper fan to be somebody who's kind of excited to find out about some new shit.
Right.
You know, be willing to click on something and give somebody a shot and, you know, learn about some new stuff. Like, I just like my platform being a place to not only hear good, riveting conversations and really figure out what's going on in the culture, but then also I want people to be able to, you know, look at this as a platform where you could learn about people oftentimes many years before they pop off on more of a mainstream level. So, and I think that ultimately, like, I skipped over this earlier, but like when I interviewed XXXTentacion in 2016, and then within a year or two, he's like one of the biggest rappers in the world, and he's filthy rich, and he's just traveling the world and all that shit. Like that was the biggest interview I've ever done. It still has more views than I think any other interview ever done in hip hop history on YouTube. And that completely changed my life, and that set me off on a trajectory of, I just want to keep doing this over and over. I want to be the guy who's helping to discover this talent. And, you know, I have like other ambitions where I just want to develop on-camera hosts that I can have great conversations with on a weekly basis and everything like that. But really, ultimately, like one of my biggest goals is just to be that person who's able to put people on before they reach a bigger platform.
I remember interviewing Shannon Sharp, and
The new GOAT.
bro,
Crazy.
he's crushing it.
Insane.
And I asked him, going into each interview in his podcast, does he chase the Cat Williams episode?
Right.
So I asked you, it's like going into each episode, right? Do you chase the XXX interview as far as like, I gotta get millions of views type shit? You see what I'm saying?
Nah, because I feel like you just got to do the best that you can with each individual person, because the truth is that if you had asked me a week after I did that X interview, like, is that going to get 1 million views? I would have said, hell no, it ain't going to get 1 million views.
Yeah.
It took a little while. I remember my girl always points out that when we first really started hanging out, me and her went to IKEA together, and I was listening to him, and I was like, you know what? I interviewed this kid a couple months ago, and I'm still listening to his music. I really think he might be something special. Like, he might be it. And then, like, you know, a couple months later, Kylie Jenner's putting a song on her Snapchat story, and I'm like, oh, maybe I was right, but like on a way bigger level than I was ever thinking, you know, and it just kept going from there. And then obviously he got killed, and that was one of the first like really tough deaths that I had to deal with. And that, you know, I got to see like the best and the worst of this new passion that I had taken on, where I was gonna get to see somebody achieve all their hopes and dreams within a year or two of me interviewing them. And then I was also gonna see this just random cruelty take them out of this world. So, you know, that broke my heart, but it also like really showed me what I was capable of bringing into the world.
Oh, for sure. You ready for the game?
Sure.
Here we go. Adam, you're a man of many words. So let's play 2 words featuring Adam22. The game is simple. I have a list of names. Describe each person using the first 2 words that come to mind.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Joe Budden.
Brilliant. Buster. I can't be all the way positive with him. You know, like I fuck with his content so much, but he's a fucking asshole.
But do you think that's a natural thing or that's his stage presence? You know what I'm saying?
No, I think that's the real him.
You think he's real like...
Yeah, he needs meds.
Say less. DJ Vlad.
Originator, workaholic. Like his work ethic originated or has always inspired the fuck out of me. And he was somebody who came to me from an early stage in my career and really put me on game, told me everything he knew, was always willing to give me any possible connect, any person that he was in touch with. So he's always been 100% solid with me. I fuck with him.
That's love. DJ Academics.
Shit. I mean, I don't like that complex list that they made, but he really is the GOAT. He's the best at sitting there having a conversation. So GOAT's my first word. I got to give it to him. He might not be the best at everything he does, but as far as just being like a hip hop commentator, he's pretty much the best that the world got to offer. But my second word, I'm gonna diss him too. I'm gonna just say dickhead, because he's a fucking asshole too. And I talk to a lot of people who kind of have that experience a little bit with him, where they realize at a certain point that you're not just friends with Ak. You could be friends with him, but you're also gonna be content for him at some point or another.
Oh, for sure. But that's how...
That's all right.
I mean, that's the game, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think everybody that's in this space has this level of storytelling that has to be authenticated by real experiences. So that's just the price of admission. Knowing that if you talk to Vlad, if you talk to academics, if you talk to Adam22, those conversations, even though it's off camera, that doesn't mean that it's never gonna not make it on camera. You know what I'm saying? And you just have to be prepared for that. Next name, Drake.
Ooh. I'm trying to think of a word that could capture his greatness. I already gave Ak the GOAT for media, but as far as like, you know, a person who's built a career, I'm gonna give him the GOAT for sure musically, in terms of just building the most incredible career I've ever seen in hip hop history. But also, my second word is gonna have to somehow indicate the fact that he's at a precarious place in his career, and I see him on the ropes, and I do feel like if anybody's gonna be able to bring this shit back, it's gonna be him. However, goddamn, that Super Bowl performance is gonna be a thing. It's gonna be a lot to overcome.
Can we stay here real quick?
Sure.
You know what? Fuck it. Let's go here first, and then we're gonna go back to. Next name, Kendrick.
Genius. Just everything about the last couple months for sure, but really just how he's sculpted his career in general. I got to give it to him. But also, I don't know if I have the word for it, like a simple word, but there really is a lot of truth to like, Kendrick opened his mouth, let's give him a Grammy. Like, he really does get more accolades and more attention and more respect for doing so much less than so many other people. But somehow, like, the minimalism of his career just really, like, allows him to...
It's quality.
It is a quality over quantity, and it's just so expertly executed that you got to give it to him. Because it's like, if you were to look at how many songs he's put out in his career versus Drake, I feel like Drake might have put out more songs in the last year than Kendrick has put out in his whole career, you know?
Yeah.
If not, it's something sort of similar. So I got to give it to him, especially being like a West Coast advocate.
Yeah.
It's Kendrick, everybody else. And to just see him be able to rise up out of LA and just become what he's become has been unreal.
Not to give a backhand compliment, but not to discredit anything that he's done previous to 2024, because it was still an illustrious career. But 2024 for Kendrick Lamar has propelled him into the stratosphere of the greatest of all time.
With one song. This year, one song.
Yes, but the They Not Like Us, that wasn't my favorite. It was Euphoria. Euphoria was like, you don't know nothing about that, waking up. Like that was 3 songs in one that I was like, yo, what is this?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But to my point that I was gonna make, right? And this is, I'm just speaking truth. I am extremely excited that Kendrick Lamar is performing during the halftime show. I am extremely excited. Let me say that. But New Orleans? Why not Lil Wayne? Why not Cash Money? Why not?
You gotta wonder what hip hop history would be like if Jay-Z didn't have his control over the game. Because I feel like we would be seeing a Hot Boys reunion or a Drake, Nicki Minaj, Lil Wayne reunion, or...
For a Super Bowl? Without Jay-Z?
Well, I'm saying that I think Jay-Z chose to do this this Drake diss in coordination with Kendrick over doing something that would have satisfied all of New Orleans.
But
Jay-Z knows a level of pettiness that I think few are capable of.
for sure. But here's another statement. When in Rome, do as Romans do. When in New Orleans, do as New Orleans will do. You see what I'm saying? And everybody talking about Uptown and Holly Grove and all this, like, damn, bro. Just how, you see when the Super Bowl was in LA?
Right.
How that was probably the most impactful performance ever for a Super Bowl performance, keeping in mind, you know, Michael Jackson, keeping in mind Justin Timberlake, keeping in mind Beyonce, keeping in mind, you know, Travis Scott, Bruno Mars. But that LA performance where it was just dedicated to West Coast,
right,
that was something that needed to have a standing ovation on stilts.
There's a lot of good, solid, salt-to-the-earth New Orleans people out there wondering why they're not going to get to have a similar moment for their superstars.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I just know, like, yo, Kendrick, I know he gonna turn up.
If I go to New Orleans with a mic and I roam the streets and ask people their favorite 5 Kendrick Lamar songs, I think it's going to be ugly.
Now you go to New Orleans and you ask them.
Yeah.
It's shit, you can go. Man, look, I'm gonna give you 5 of them right now.
Yeah.
Lil Wayne, obviously. Lil Boosie, Kevin Gates, Juvenile, BG, Birdman,
Yeah.
Master P. What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Just imagine, make him say, what?
That's the moment they want.
What? Bruh. Dun, 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 dun.
All right. Do we think that the Super Bowl should be used as a place for people to air out what, to my eyes, are false allegations about, one of our greatest North American superstars?
Which is who?
Drake. I feel like that song is full of easily disprovable allegations. Now, if this was anything besides a rap battle, Kendrick Lamar would be sued for defamation. And I'm sure the idea has crossed Drake's mind. Because, listen, if I go get a job at the New York Times,
yes, sir,
and I write an article about some celebrity, and I make all the allegations that are made in that song,
yes,
I am going to be sued into oblivion. They're going to have to retract it. They would never allow it to be published in the first place. But I don't know. I think if anybody else was making this call, and I can't believe the NFL went along with it, but apparently Jay-Z's reach is so strong that there was nobody to tell him no. To me, it seems kind of inappropriate to use this as a venue for a song that, to my eyes, is not only hateful, but also erroneous.
You do understand this one song is probably a grain of salt of his discography of work over the last, let's say, decade.
He wouldn't be at the Super Bowl halftime show if it wasn't for that song, though. Especially not in New Orleans. Now, it is his year. You got to give it to him.
For sure.
Lil Wayne didn't exactly shock the culture in 2024. I'm not sure exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, but you...
Probably at the local skate park, you know?
Yeah, but you can't say that without saying, when was the last time 50 Cent dropped an album? When was the last time Snoop Dogg dropped an album? When was the last time Dr. Dre dropped an album? But they graced the stage for the Super Bowl in LA.
Very true, very true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're having a debate.
And that's the thing. Kendrick was on the Super Bowl halftime show stage a couple years ago.
Oh, for sure.
He's back.
At the same, but he's the headline now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, I would have thought the Super Bowl would use their platform to bring people into the culture of where this Super Bowl actually is. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's like the best thing that you could hope for the halftime show is that it would be a celebration of the local culture, especially a place like New Orleans that is super influential but doesn't necessarily get mentioned the way that like New York, Atlanta, and LA do.
For sure. Because all right, since we're here, we still have close to 10 more names, but at one point in time, just like New York has held the crown, just like West Coast has wore the crown, just like Atlanta has wore the crown. At one point in time of music, there was nothing that could be created without New Orleans having something to say about music.
But at that time, we lived in a world where it was still magazines, it was still TV.
For sure.
So I feel like they didn't get their just due. But when you started to really realize that was when you would see a Jay-Z album that came out in like 99 or some shit that only had one feature and it was Juvenile. That's when you realize like, oh shit, Jay-Z realizes how big this Southern shit is. When Big Pimpin' came out, et cetera, when they really realized like, oh, we got to embrace down South because it was like two different worlds for so long throughout hip hop history. And down South was being ignored by mainstream hip hop media.
That's all, man, look, we can go on and on about how we feel. And this is merely takes, this is merely thought-provoking discussions.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? And I just would have wanted me personally to say, okay, shit.
But the most logical thing would be for Kendrick to do his set and at some point bring out Wayne, have him do a couple songs. But
you understand.
That would be the ultimate disloyalty to Drake. So I don't think it can't even be discussed.
Yes.
Yeah. Even though we have seen Wayne do a bunch of little shit that makes us think, you rocking that EXO chain right now? What is your relationship with him? I don't know.
It's a lot. It's a lot to unpack, but Back to the game.
Yeah.
Next person. Russ.
Oh, shit. Russ.
2 words.
It'd be hard to simplify it down to 2 words, but I mean, ultimately, he has my respect. He's a genius, and he's got an unbelievable independent fan base. Now, that being said, he also sent some large Nigerian men to attack me in a nail salon, but you got to respect the game.
So you have feared your life.
Honestly, that situation was so brief that I didn't really have time to fear for my life, but yeah, kind of.
And the nails, what the fuck were you doing in the nail salon? Mani-pedi?
Just the Manny. Just thinking I was slick, thinking that I didn't need to be on point.
You got caught lacking.
Yeah, and I also, but I admitted to Russ that I fucked up in that situation too, because the way I was using him as a punchline on Twitter,
Yeah.
just shitting on him, was, looking back on it, it's just really distasteful. This is really ugly. And I don't think I would ever really use somebody as a laughing stock like that again.
A doormat.
So I can actually understand,
Yeah.
you know?
Say less.
Yeah.
Next person, Charleston White.
Entertaining, also a huge asshole, but ultimately, I'm more inclined to give him his flowers and just acknowledge the greatness of what he has created, rather than to focus in on the fact that I am sometimes the target of his rants.
I asked him his thoughts about you on our platform.
Oh, I didn't see that. Huh?
He referred to you as slave master.
Somehow from him, that doesn't really feel that mean. Like, I feel like he could do worse. He could put something out there more negative, which is not something you would normally think there.
Touche. Next person, MGK.
MGK.
Oh, that hamster wheel is rolling, boy. Jeez.
Because I don't have anything against the guy, but I do feel like, you know, he slapped my hand in a weird manner at Rolling Loud. All just because I think it was just because I said that Eminem whooped his ass in a battle. So I still kind of feel like we should fight, but also, I don't know. It's just been so long. It's hard for me to like summon the anger to really throw his way.
Is this like a white on white crime right here?
It's a big problem in the community, Cam.
Really? Who would win? Would you ever do a celebrity or like a boxing match with somebody?
I hope for MGK's sake that we never end up on like equal footing to where that would make sense for both of us to do. Because he seems like he's doing great. I'm not personally a big fan of his music or anything like that, but celebrity boxing, no, probably not. As far as who would win, I don't know. I think he's taller than me. He's kind of lanky. I feel like I might have something for that ass.
For real?
I think I might be able to.
What round? In a 7-rounder.
Shit, we doing this in Baby Snap's alley. There ain't no rounds.
Just to the death. To the tap out.
We'll have the homies break it up before that happens, but yeah.
He got all the lingo. The homies. Standing on business. I could dig. Here we go. Jason Love.
Pioneer and professional. Even though my one amendment to that would just be that I feel like he was rocked and shocked by the amount of clout that hit him to such an extent that he said a few things that I wasn't a huge fan of in the interviews that he ended up doing after the fact, and that kind of made me not want to work with male talent that I didn't feel like I really had like a genuine relationship with. Shit, I forget.
Cause no,
I can't even remember what he said that pissed me off, but it was something about like just. I can't even remember now, honestly. I would hate to misquote him.
No, but you're definitely, it's right there. I can see your body language in a way like, do you regret doing it?
No, I don't regret it at all. But I mean, like I've filmed scenes with my wife and 2 other guys since, and it was smooth sailing, no problem at all. The thing is that he was the first one through the door, so he kind of like got an outsized amount of attention from it, and I feel like he didn't necessarily know what to do with it. So, but also, you know, it's like there was a million people just trying to coax him into saying out-of-pocket shit in interviews because that was like the easiest viral content at the moment. So it is what it is.
But you, go ahead.
I feel like there's a porn code. There's just certain things that you don't do, which is like if you shoot with somebody's significant other, you shouldn't really be like when it comes time to like compare yourselves or whatever, if that ends up being what you're doing, you should use the kid gloves. You should be, you know, you shouldn't really be trying to take that as a moment to stunt. The same way, if I shoot a scene with a girl and that shit stank to high heavens, I'm never gonna say a word. I'm never gonna say anything. Because it's just the things that go on scene. I've been on scene and I've seen guys off multiple Viagras furiously beating their dick for an hour to get hard. And I'll never air them out because what happens on set should just stay on set, I think.
But you do understand this is of your approval, though.
Yeah, there's just like a way I think that it should be done.
Like you're a businessman.
Yeah.
So that should be formatted prior to like, yo, bro, like this is sacred grounds here.
And we realized that afterwards that we should have given him a little bit more media training. Because you know, it's a lot to take on.
Not to be disrespectful to Jason Love or anybody or in that industry. Is what do you expect from that realm? Like he's not. When I think of that industry, we're not watching them because they're media trained.
Right. True.
You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't watching him anyway. That ain't my cup of that. Man, my lane goes one way.
But probably it never would have occurred to you to watch an interview with a male performer prior to that situation. It was kind of like one of the biggest moments in porn history in terms of how much attention people were paying to a particular porn scene, you know?
Yo, for sure, because you got to think about it, bro. That was you breached the marriage code.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? Like and that's your type of content. Like I'm looking at a realm where it's like, okay, cool. Let's press pause on this because we're gonna come back to this.
Okay.
Let's finish this game. Right? Because I don't. It's there.
For sure.
AD.
Who's that? Oh, that was one of the podcasters, right? He used to be on NoJumper. I feel like he's somebody who he leapt off the boat a little too early. He was a big deal on NoJumper.
He was. He's hurt.
It feels like if he knew how irrelevant he was going to become when he left, that he probably would have cherished his position a bit more.
Well, there you have it.
He knows.
4 more. Crip Matt.
Legend. Took cripping to levels that we never knew were possible. Made it look good with the dances, the Western wiggle, etc. Just rocked and shocked NoJumper to its core. Realistically, like when you talk about me being like capable of finding talent, I saw a 40-second Instagram video of him promoting, it was like a sponsored post, him promoting some random insurance company. Go and get your insurance from the credit doctor. No, it was credit repair. Go to the credit doctor. He gonna help you out on 5-5 crib. I saw that, I was like, what the I need to meet this guy. Now, I did not realize his potential. I did not know that our first interview was gonna do millions and millions of views and that he was gonna go on to do every other podcast and shit, but I don't know, it's like, especially as the years go by and having hung out with his mom and his grandma and being around his kid and his baby mama and everything, it's like, he really got a heart of gold. Like, a lot of these dudes that I interview and stuff, I get close to them, but I don't get too close to them. he's somebody who, I don't know, he's kind of just become like family in a way. And if anything, I regret not getting even more, allowing myself to become even closer to him, because I mean, he's so magnetic in a way. Right now, my girl's mad at me because my kid knows about jail because of him. My kid asked me, she's 3.5, she asked me where Crip Mac was, and I said he's in jail. And I had to break down, why is he in jail? Well, because he did some bad stuff. Are you gonna go to jail? Am I gonna go to jail? No, they don't send 3-year-olds to jail. My girl feels like that was inappropriate for me to tell her about Crip Mac being in jail, but I mean, he's just one of the greatest Americans that I've ever encountered. And I wanna keep him out of trouble. I wanna actively try to help him figure out his situation once he gets back on the streets.
Say less.
Yeah.
China Mac.
Flunky, irrelevant, hiding in a foreign location, culture vulture. I'm gonna throw it right back at him.
What? Not a vulture with a vulture. It only can be one. Just tease.
He outdid me.
Andrew Tate.
You know, I was never really interested in what he was selling in the same way that I think a lot of other people found him really fascinating. I feel like, but at the same time, I could put myself in 18-year-old Adam's shoes, and I probably would have loved the misogyny he was pumping out, you know? It probably would have really appealed to me as a younger man. So on one hand, you got to give it to him. He's a very talented broadcaster. On the other hand, he wouldn't be my first choice in terms of who I would recommend that young men go to in terms of learning about women and stuff. Maybe I shouldn't even say that, because I'm sure like on a day-to-day basis, his content is probably not so negative. And I think sometimes it's just the over-the-top takes that end up really going viral. But ultimately, when I look at the whole red pill space, I feel like the kind of man that you want to become is not necessarily being exhibited by a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys seem very lonely and hurt and overtly concerned about their standing in society. And I also say that with a degree of privilege, because I've already kind of made it, you know? If I wasn't married, I would probably be swimming in all kinds of beautiful pussy fresh up out of Magic City right now, so.
It's gonna cost you.
Just thinking about it. God damn it. But, you know.
Last but not least, Adam22.
What the game's been missing.
What the game.
So Adam22, the rapper, that's what the game's been missing. Adam22, the podcaster, I feel like I'm, I don't know, I don't like to like throw accolades upon me. I feel like, if anything, I'm just trying to stay normal. I'm just trying to do good content, tap in with the people, mix with the people, and just do the best job I can and make the best shit I can. And man, I'm so happy that we're doing this interview right now after spending 3-4 days just walking around Atlanta, just really tapping in with like real people. Because a lot of times in LA, you know, you're just trapped away in your house, and you know, I only get to really encounter people when I'm going to do vlogs or I'm doing interviews. And out here, it just feels amazing. I just feel so normal, down to earth, just hanging out with everybody. This is like the best state of mind I could possibly do this interview in.
Say less. Yeah. Where the fuck did Adam22 come from? Like, what's the connection with the 22?
22 was me making a live journal, which was like a very early form of social media when I was 15 years old. And I didn't know what it was when I was signing up for it. My friend told me to sign up for it, and I wrote Adam, and then I put a 2, and I thought, well, I don't want to be Adam2. So I put another 2. Wow. That was it. Just a nickname. And then way before I ever thought about branding, I realized, oh, I have a very long last name. It has 11 letters in it. It's hard for people to remember. Grand Mason. But 22, easy to remember. People in school just started calling me Adam22. And I was like, that's good branding right there. That's easy for people to remember. I'm gonna stick with that. For a while, I tried to get rid of it, and I tried to be Adam Meth Lab. didn't catch on.
Yeah, we can't use that right there for purposes as you know. But listen, that's the game.
Cool.
As we transition into the anticipation of bringing back, really, how do we get to, or what's the difference between NoJumper and Plug Talk?
So, NoJumper I've been doing for a long ass time. And at some point, me and my wife, Lena, we just sort of realized that there was a new level of adult content that we thought that we could create, and that it was gonna be so outside the realm of NoJumper that we needed a different brand name to do it under. Really, we just wanted to do conversations with women and then sleep with them. And we created it, and I'm very proud. I think we brought something new to the universe right there, and it was something that doing it under the NoJumper umbrella wouldn't have really made sense.
So Plug Talk it ends up with you and your wife.
Yes, we interview them and then we sleep with them.
How did you and your wife meet?
She was working for a social media agency, and she DM'd me trying to get me to do an interview with two random ass models. And I looked at her Instagram and I thought, damn, I kind of fuck with this girl. So I told her, yeah, maybe we can interview them, but when are you gonna take me on a date? When are you gonna buy me a drink? I think I said. And so she was fucking with it. And we went out.
Nouns and verbs.
Whenever people ask about our first kiss, it's kind of awkward because it was probably like a half hour after I met her. I just pulled her in and just started smooching her.
Consensual.
Oh, yeah. She was over the moon.
Did you ever think that person who DM'd you that day, that it would lead to?
No, not at all. I hadn't even been in a relationship for like 10 years prior to that, basically. I thought I was just too cooked. I thought I was too addicted to pussy. I wasn't gonna be able to be in a relationship. And through her, I really found a solid connection that I had been missing for a long time.
Okay. So many questions here that I'm just like, how did you guys get to the point of saying, you know what, I think I want to try stepping out? Is that polygamy?
For us,
polyamory?
well, do you mean with another dude, or do you mean
just
with
in
women?
general? How the fuck did y'all come up with that? Like, what was that like? It's like, yo.
I think from the beginning, we were both just like so open sexually. Like, I remember there was a night where we were just fucking, and it was an extended session, multiple hours of getting it in. And we ended up just FaceTiming this girl that we were both friends with. And we were just showing her what we were doing, and she was loving it. She was watching us hook up, and she was hyped. And then that kind of turned into us making videos together on the iPhone and, you know, putting it on OnlyFans or whatever. And then that turned into, and we're going all the way back to like 2016 when I met her right now. And then that turned into, oh, let's get a filmer. Well, let's bring other girls in. Let's keep this thing going. Let's keep it exciting.
So for the sake of this conversation, when you say been open, are you bisexual?
No. Strictly vaginal in nature. Cam Newton and your audience, you need to know this. Not gay.
But it was a rumor.
Oh, I did a April Fool's prank where I did a photo shoot with a gay porn star, Michael. Shout out Michael. And you know, it turns out that when you do a prank like that, a large percentage of people are not really gonna catch on to the prank part. Especially, I didn't really announce that it was a prank. I just kind of assumed everybody would figure it out. So.
But as a person, let's just put it like this. As a person who is dipped in the blood of the quote unquote culture.
Very edgy joke. Yeah, right?
Yeah, there's certain things that Caucasians can joke about, and you get like, oh, he's just goofing around and just busting his balls. But with us Wakandanins, Nah, you
I
don't.
would like to think that if I was black, I would have still done that prank.
No, we don't play like that.
Okay, I would like to think. I don't know if
Yeah.
I really would have been capable of such a level of trend setting,
Right.
but yeah, you know. Now the real question is, do I have it in me to dress up like a woman for next April Fools?
But that's what you call white privilege. You could probably do that, and probably get away with it too. I can't dress up like a woman now and be like, it was just a joke. It was just a joke. No, it don't work like that.
I don't think you're gonna. Yeah, no. Thinking about you doing it, I'm like, no.
You see what I'm saying?
No, that wouldn't really work too good.
But look, so much of what I see you guys in relationship, right, is something that, in essence, needs to be studied. Because you guys have this easygoing relationship on camera or even on social media where it's like, yo, like y'all motherfuckers, you guys don't spare the expense of nothing. Everything is transparent. You know what I'm saying? I think what I want to know is, how did you guys get to that comfort of like, we gonna all just throw it out there and you know how I feel, you know what my desires are, and you know.
It's weird because you say that we're totally transparent. I feel like we're not transparent at all, because the only part of our relationship that people get to really see is the sexual stuff. You know? Sometimes we'll do a podcast together where we just talk about our relationship and shit like that, but for the most part, you know, that's one thing about me and her. We've never beefed publicly on social media. We've never got at each other's necks, never been mad at each other publicly. And that was like ground rules that I laid down in the beginning. I was like, listen, like no matter how mad at each other we are, let's just keep everything cool publicly and just always have respect for each other like that. And I think that really kind of like set the groundwork for us being together for 8 years and being capable of doing things that other people can't wrap their heads around. And I feel like as we got deeper and deeper into the porn world, and as we met more and more couples that were capable of doing what we do, it just became easier and easier for us to wrap our heads around it. And also just realizing like the viral value of us being willing to do stuff with other dudes on camera. Which when I say that, wow, that sounds gay. But no, like, you know, me and her and another dude, me and him, not touching each other at all, ever, Cam Newton, but doing stuff with her. I don't know. I mean, I'm a freaky guy. I'm not gonna lie.
That also comes off as a little skeptical. But I will say this. Who presented the idea first?
Honestly, it's hard to even remember because we've kind of like tossed the idea around back and forth like over the years, because it was just like another viral idea. Like, damn, if we did that, that would go crazy.
But you do understand that's not a normal, like I can't say that I want or desire my woman to be penetrated by another man.
Right.
Especially while I'm watching.
Well, no, I'm up in the mix. But the thing about it though is I think it's hot. I think it's fun.
Okay.
I like getting in that environment.
Yeah, but is there a certain things that you'd be like going into it, like with Jason Love, right?
Yeah.
Were there some like things that were off limits?
Yeah, I said don't kiss him and don't let him nut on your face. But then the first time that I fucked her with another guy, I was like, come on, nut on her face. If we doing this, let's do it for real.
That's your wife, bro.
You know? And when we're on camera, the rules are way different than every other moment of our lives. When we're in that moment, it's like, let's make this the best piece of content that we can.
Have you ever had a conversation with somebody, going back to one of those friends, where they're black, white, green, blue, that's just been like, bro, what the fuck are you doing?
No, because in the porn world, they don't understand why anyone gives a fuck about what me and her have done. And if anything, they're kind of salty because they're like, you're just doing the same shit that plenty of us do. Now, in the hip hop worlds, very, very different reaction. You couldn't pick two subcultures that have a more different perspective on sex than the porn world and the hip hop world. And I'm in both. And if I was only in porn, then nobody would give a fuck. It's only because I'm in hip hop / like mainstream culture that I get the reaction.
But help me understand, in any world where somebody can say, I do, and then turn around and say, you can. You see what I'm saying?
You know, for me, the marriage thing is such a big deal to so many people.
Okay.
As a non-religious person, it probably doesn't occupy the same space in my brain as a lot of other people.
Okay.
Because to me, getting married was kind of like, it was like an acknowledgement of what we already had. We already own a house together. We already live together. We already love each other. We already got a kid. Let's get married. Let's have a big party. Fuck it. But
what was that night like?
Getting married?
Yeah, did y'all go crazy? Did you guys create content for that?
No. God damn. That would be the last thing we ever would have thought of.
Now, you talking about going viral shit, motherfucker. That was an opportunity missed. If we keeping it right? Like you said, the day of marriage.
You're reminding me, though, that at one point we were supposed to do like a bridal scene. We were gonna rent wedding dresses, and it was gonna be bridesmaids.
Bro, no, rent ain't.
You want the real deal,
motherfucker? Nah. I do. Y'all come on and let's go on our honeymoon, and we're gonna create straight content.
There was probably 8 girls at my wedding that I had slept with, and no guys that she had slept with.
That you know of?
Seems kind of.
Do you know all her partners?
Yeah.
Y'all got it written down?
Well, I mean, since entering the porn world, I don't know what she was doing in high school or anything.
How did that conversation go?
What?
Like, I want to know your list.
Oh, I mean, I did say, like, in the early stages of us seeing each other, I was like, I need to know anybody hip-hop adjacent.
Were you surprised to find a person that she was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah?
I asked her early on enough that I didn't really give a shit. So
the question is, have you ever been around a person that she slept with that y'all both were around and he was kind of like looking at you like...
No. Also, that wouldn't even, I don't really give a fuck. You know, it's like...
See, that's it.
Whatever she did before me is not really like of interest to me. But that being said, no, I've never like had to do the like awkward handshake with some guy.
No, we're
thinking about it.
We're not even... It's Cobra, motherfucker. Like real shit. Because this is what I need females to understand. I only can speak for myself, right? I need to know the information. But if he plays with me, I'm gonna have to stand on some business. You dig what I'm saying?
It could get like that.
Before me, during me, or even after me. It's like, bro, act accordingly.
Yeah. I agree.
Or I'm not.
Right. Because I don't give a shit what she did in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, if somebody's gonna be disrespectful to you, it is what it is.
What's off limits in you guys' relationship?
I think it's just all about being super, super honest, you know?
Okay.
But we're also like 100% monogamous on off camera. Now, we'll fuck around, I shouldn't say that, because we do fuck around with girls off camera from time to time, but...
No dudes?
No, it's never happened.
Off camera?
Off camera, it's never happened, yeah. Oh, actually, no, wait. Back in the day, one time.
Take me through, bro. Bro. How do you have that, the amount of humility that you have to show in a state of like your girl saying, I want to fuck another dude. And you're like, wait, what?
Okay, so the one time it happened off camera was just a crazy party situation. We were just partying and it just ended up happening, and it was like right when I met her. As far as the porn thing,
hold on. No,
it's on camera. I feel like people like you don't understand that it being on camera, it's in the schedule weeks in advance. We got a cameraman there. It's just like a very different thing.
True.
You know?
But I'm talking about that party.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's what I'm trying to wrap my mind around understanding. Like when you see her flirting with somebody else, or when you
no.
But
everything is like under my control. It's not like she's
explain.
She would never like show any kind of interest in a guy around me.
But she does.
But then the sex, it's like me making the call. It could never, like it probably would have been comfortable enough to be able to do that kind of thing if it was the kind of thing where she ever showed interest in other dudes around me.
But you do understand that just like you think other females are attractive, she do also think other men are attractive.
And we can have conversations like that.
And how does she come to you and say, hey, he's hot?
She can say a dude is hot, but never has she ever been like, he's hot, I wanna, you know? That just, I would be blown away. Because in the porn world, we have to constantly be evaluating people based on their looks, and so that's a totally normal conversation for us to have. But yeah, she's never been like excitedly telling me about some dude or like, oh, we're gonna work with this
But
guy. Which I think that is really crucial to us being able to do that. Because if I really felt like she was liable to cheat or liable to go like fuck around, I would probably have a way different, less confident outlook on us working with other guys.
Yeah, but something's missing. A piece of information is missing here where there's a phase where you say, hey, babe, him? And then she says, mm-mm. And then you say, hey, babe, him? And then she looks him up and down and like, yeah, him.
Yeah.
That don't make you feel a certain type of way?
No, not really.
And then how do you approach the dude? Like, yo, bro, like, me and my girl want to fuck.
It probably wouldn't even be me. It's probably like somebody on our team reaching out to him and saying like, hey, would you like to shoot a scene a month from now on a Thursday at 3 p.m.?
So how, like, bear with me.
For sure.
Because I'm like, bro, this is some insightful shit.
And just seeing how giddy you are to talk about this reminds me of how interesting this is to people and how out of the box it is. Because to me, it seems pretty fucking normal at this point.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not normal for me.
No, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
It's one of them things like, yo, bro, what? How, like, you'd be like, yo, babe, him, and then...
You know, I feel like if anything, it's helpful that she's so negative towards most guys. Mm-hmm. She seems like extremely selective and picky. And there have been dudes where I was like, what if we shot with him? Like, that would make sense. She's like, no. Which, on the other hand, for me, there's tons of girls I want to fuck that she doesn't want to fuck.
Who's your dream one?
Just on Earth?
Yes.
I think I might have met her in Magic City the other day. Wait, my wife. I want to say my wife first.
But
my wife.
Obviously, we've passed that.
My wife. Okay. And then man, there's so many.
Come on, bro, don't be no pussy.
What about like me plus the Claremont twins? Off a couple of E-pills in a hotel room for 24 hours. I could do that.
Say less. Well, there you have it. Has there ever been a time since you guys being together that you've been with a person without her in attendance and vice versa?
Me, yeah, I did some cheating early on before we started being like fully honest with each other, you know?
Yeah.
Which I feel bad about, kind of betraying that relationship early on. But her, no. And again, like that's the kind of thing where probably it would be a lot harder for me to be so confident in the relationship if she had ever cheated like that, you know?
So you were there with Jason?
No, that is a popular misconception. I was not around for that.
So there was, so there were times where...
That was the one time. That she shot her debut scene with someone besides me, with him, yeah.
And who entered the porn industry first?
Her. And then she kind of dragged me along, and I ended up getting excited about it as time went by. At first, I was kind of dragging my heels. But then as we got going, I was like, okay, this is fun. I like this.
Okay, now for the educational part of this industry, we must understand that what's the process of making sure everyone's healthy and the testing that goes in that is not talked about enough for practicing safe sex?
Every 2 weeks, me, her, and pretty much everybody else in the porn industry, you pee in a cup, you go to this local clinic. We all go to the same clinic, so it's like walking into a club sometimes. You walk in there and you see a bunch of fellow sex workers, but they take your blood, you pee in a cup, and then they give you a little thing, kind of looks like a Q-tip. You got to put that about 1 inch into your butt and wiggle it around. Cam, already I'm thinking that this might not be your speed.
No,
okay.
I'm listening.
And then
and I'm just definitely not my speed.
and then they take a Q-tip thing and they scrape the back of your throat. You're in and out in about 10 minutes. And this is really like integral to the strength of the porn industry, because let me tell you, if I were to fuck a random girl I met in a strip club,
Right.
in my head, I would privately be having an anxiety attack about I don't know what she got. I don't know how many other dudes been inside this over the past couple weeks, whatever. But the feeling of being in an orgy with a bunch of different people and you know that they're all clean and that there's no risk at all besides the tiny microscopic chance that something snuck through, that's a great feeling. Just knowing that you're in a completely sanitary environment.
Whee!
Exactly. Slip and slide.
Lord Jesus Christ. Have you ever had a favorite? Or what's your favorite?
All the time.
Do you care to share?
Oh, Jesus
Put us
Christ.
on. Like, we want to, shit, I want to know. Motherfucker was like that? What?
There's just so many. I mean, there was this girl, Chrissy, that we had on the other day, who was the one that was talking about how a guy couldn't date her unless he was paying all her bills. Beautiful black woman from upstate New York with just the biggest ass that I might have ever seen.
Was it synthetic?
It had been augmented, yeah. It was augmented reality.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was one moment in the Plug Talk scene where my girl's riding me, and Chrissy's down there getting nasty, doing what she's doing
I wouldn't
in between.
expect her not to.
And she just hoists one of my legs up and just digs her face down into my.
Hey, easy, slow down.
I know.
Okay, now you
Bleep me. Somebody bleep me.
You speak.
Bro, I thought I was about to pop. That shit, god damn. I was like, I'm a lucky man. I'm 40 years old and I'm living the dream.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
And I'm eating off this. Like, this is paying the bills. The mortgage is being paid by me getting my right now.
Okay. Slow down.
Cam.
Slow down.
That feels good.
This ain't Plug Talk. This ain't NoJumper.
Bleep everything.
We will. So is it safe to say you paid the $4,000 an hour fee?
No. Content trade. So it goes on Plug Talk and it goes on her OnlyFans.
Negotiations.
Yeah.
Nouns and verbs.
And then she got a shout out on the Cam Newton show. So here we are. Onlyplugtalk.com. Check out all my episodes, $5 a month.
Well, shit, with that being said,
That's
make
cheaper
sure you
than
go to
Netflix.
iconicsoccer.com for $1 a month and get you all the stuff that you need. You know what I'm saying?
He ain't piping though.
Shit. Shit, I got to get approval from that first. Let me
okay,
call Jasmine Renee. See if she going for that. Probably not, but needless to say. Now, this is the thing too that this is what makes it a little murky too, because you are a content creator which houses your content on the internet. You also have a 3-year-old daughter. Have you guys ever talked about that time where it's like, okay, babe, this is enough. She's getting older. She knows what's going on right now. Like, what is that discussion like?
I do hope to make my exit from the porn industry probably before she's really, you know, like I would hate for her to be, you know, going to junior high and having to explain away her dad's actions. But that being said, I got a lot of homies who like go on podcasts and talk about who they shot and who they, you know, been shot by, and talk about being locked up and talk about, you know, shooting up and all this shit. And I kind of feel like, you know, my kid might grow up tough enough that she could handle whatever that might bring into her life. But I don't know, I'm just playing it by ear because I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this porn shit in 10 years. I'm 40 right now, I'm damn near 41. And, you know, we do everything we can to hide our kid away from the internet. We don't post her or anything like that.
Right.
We got more kids probably coming at some point. And, you know, it's like even you take Plug Talk out of the equation. I got a brother-in-law who's got 2 kids, 10 and 8. Shout out Henry and Teddy. But, you know, they don't really know about Plug Talk, but they know about NoJumper. They think it's really cool. But they know they're not allowed to watch it. And when I really think about it, NoJumper is probably the most inappropriate podcast I could think of outside of Plug Talk, my other, you know, or really probably any porn podcast. So even if you take Plug Talk out of the equation, I'm still having some of the most foul, degenerate conversations imaginable on a day-to-day basis. So it's like, you know, and I was having this conversation the other day with Brick Baby about, you know, he has like a grown daughter damn near. She's 16. So she really knows what's going on, and he's got to explain things in his life to her. And he's like, she knows I'm fucked up. She's a good kid. But she knows that I've done a lot of shit in the streets, and she knows that if she sees a clip on YouTube of me talking about some crazy shit, that she probably don't want to click it. So I feel like, you know, to some extent, this is life for many of us, you know, where it's like most people don't have as much inappropriate shit out there as me. But, you know, even with you, I'm sure if we comb through every single podcast conversation you ever had, you'd probably find a whole fleet of things that you wouldn't really want your, you know, 9-year-old to hear. So I think you got to just keep them sheltered until they're as old as possible, and then once they start to become aware of shit, you got to help shepherd them through and understand. Like, you know, I think of it like this, like, what if I made horror movies? I mean, little kids can't watch horror movies.
There's no comparable. Like,
well, you haven't seen my work. Sometimes it might resemble a horror movie. Alien?
yeah.
Anyway,
But I say that to say I see what you're trying to say, but it's inevitable. Mm-hmm. They're going to find out.
Oh yeah.
It's like my 4-year-old knows how to do One Love. You know what I'm saying? It's like, where did you learn that at? I'd never just say, hey, son, one finger, one pinky, one. They just see it, right? And I'm not judging you by no stretch of the imagination, but content, you can't gauge. There's no parental cipher on Instagram. What's it? Are you 18? Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, right? But it is what it is.
It is what it is. I just feel like there's a lot of people make adult content.
Yeah.
Pretty much every rapper I know is making adult content. They make music that they wouldn't really want their kid to understand. They might let their kid hear it, just assuming that their kid's not going to really understand what they're talking about. But I feel the same way. I got to just, you know, balance that where I make content for grown-ups, but then I also have a little kid. So I keep her completely off the internet and plan to do so for as long as possible. And, you know, just see how it goes.
Last question on this topic. Off camera, the normal life, right? What's you and your guys' like connection? Like, what do you guys enjoy to do, you and your wife?
I feel like exercise, going out on hikes and going to the beach and just being one with nature is like a big part of our shit. Just like any day where we could take the day off work to go to the beach with her family or my family or whatever, that's big. We're both like pretty serious foodies. We both love reading and podcasting and books and movies and all that kind of shit. So sometimes it's tough with the kid where it's like, you know, if we get the kid to bed by 8, she might want to go to bed by 10. So it's like, you got that 2-hour window to try to connect.
It's premium.
Try to do something that makes you feel like you're really married. And I feel like that's super fucking important. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it's crazy to think about the fact that we did not have this thing that existed in our lives that made us constantly 24 hours a day be thinking about something else. I mean, she texted me about an hour and a half ago. I could feel it buzz in my pocket, and I'm already knowing it's something about the kid. I already know it would have buzzed like 8 times if it was something bad. So, you know, the kid is like the thing that just bonds you together so fucking much, but it's easy to only talk about the kid. And it's like, I think if you don't bond in other ways, then you're kind of selling yourself short in the relationship. You gotta always be looking for shit that can really kind of bond you together.
Say less. My last question here, Adam, and this interview has been nothing less of a content explosion.
I think you got a little bit freakier through this interview. I think you might be getting a little bit more open-minded.
Not as open-minded to share my lady.
Okay.
But my question to you is, what's the future plans of NoJumper, Plug Talk, and any other IPs that you foresee in the future for you?
I feel like I do more content than almost anybody else in the podcasting space. Like the other day I did Vlad. It was a few months ago I did Vlad. Mm-hmm. And we did a 2-hour interview, and he said, "What are you doing after this?" And I go, "I got 4 more interviews. I'm gonna go interview 4 people at the crib, at the office." And he's like, "Full interviews?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, thinking about it, like, showed up to do my shit at 10 a.m. He's like, "How late are you gonna be in there?" I'm like, "About 9 p.m. And he's just like, I could see it in his eyes that he was just like, "What the fuck?" Because I know he does 1 or 2 interviews a day at most.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like by doing so much content, I've cut myself off from some other opportunities that I really want to be on top of. So I'm trying to just dip and dabble into more shit and say no to a certain number of interviews. And I want to, you know, have some artists that I'm working on signing right now that I'm excited about. I'm working on like a weed strain thing that is something that I tried to get off the ground in 2019 and it didn't really work out, and I just fell off and just haven't really pushed it since then. And I just want to do more. I want to do more high quality content, do little documentary type things that take a couple days to film as opposed to just cranking out nonstop interviews. You know, even this, just coming to Atlanta for 4 days.
Yeah.
I got to do this. I got to go to Houston for a week. I got to go to Florida for a week. I got to just like really tap in with the people and just be outside more, because I feel like sometimes I just keep myself locked away in the interview dungeon day after day, just tobacco and caffeine, and I just want to emerge from that a little bit and just do bigger things with my time as well.
Something that just came up too. What's more profitable for you? Is it NoJumper or the porn content?
You know, honestly, it kind of goes back and forth at times, but I would say for the most part, NoJumper's the bigger business. But also, I own 100% of NoJumper and I own 50% of Plug Talk. So
Who owns the other?
Lena. But obviously, every dollar she makes is basically a dollar going back into our home. So
For sure.
But NoJumper is just a little bit more versatile. We just got more options available to us. But it's also like, if NoJumper is going to be a good business, I need to crank out a significant amount of content every month. Whereas with Plug Talk, we could film 4 scenes, because we drop 1 scene every week. We could film 4 scenes in like a couple days and then just take off and go on vacation the rest of the month. Because Plug Talk only makes money through subscription revenue, basically, which is nice because you're not really as beholden to create a huge amount of content.
Right.
You just need to keep your subscribers happy. So they're both great in their own ways.
If that question ever happens with your daughter, and she says, Dad, I want to get into porn.
You don't need to do that. I did that so you wouldn't have to go through that.
Say that.
Now, if you do find yourself at some point where you're older and you've explored all the options in life and you've gone through college and you still feel like this is for some reason something that you would want to be interested in, of course I would have to guide her in the right direction, but I feel like for the most part, the right direction, be a Ruby Rose. Take some booty pics and put them on your OnlyFans. You really don't like, you know, me and your mom, we're freaks. There's a reason why we do the shit that we do. You don't gotta do all that. Take a booty pic, maybe take a brassiere pic, but as far as the real shit that we're doing, that's just...
You sacrificed enough for her to be...
Exactly, I did this. You don't need to do that.
Well, there you have it. Can you follow instructions?
All day.
Say less. Here we go as we end things here at Funky Friday. We're gonna start with this camera right here. Then we're gonna go to this camera right here. And then we're gonna finish with that camera right there.
Okay.
When I say all together, we're gonna say one love. When I say all together, we're gonna say what?
One love.
Say less. One hand out. Here we go. One finger.
Sorry.
Here we go. One finger. One pinky. One thumb. All together. One love. Come on, bro. Come on, where you at?
One love. One love. One love.
So we got to do it again.
Yeah, but you're acting like we got to do it 3 times in a row.
No, bro. We're gonna start right here. One finger, one pinky, one thumb. You dig what I'm saying?
Oh, 1, 2, 3.
Boom.
Got it.
You good?
Yeah.
Let's slide. Here we go. One finger, one pinky, one thumb, all together, one love. Ladies and gentlemen.
You nailed it.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, bro. For real.
Thank you, dog.
That was great.